Hey guys, my name is Moon and welcome to another Umineko When They Cry video. So this one is gonna be a little bit different. So I finished the question arcs episode 1 to 4, and before we head into the answer arcs episode 5, I wanted to do my definitive thoughts and theories on what happened in the question arc. So yeah, basically my speculations, how it happened, who is the culprit, all that stuff. And I wanted to talk about that. So if you're willing or if you want to watch, then yeah, thank you very much. So let's get started because this is going to be quite a long video. I don't know how long, but we'll find out. So anyway, let's do this. Okay, so for the first one we got is, who is Beatrice, right? I think this is the biggest question in the game. But for me, I think there are 3 Beatrices in the game. Not just one, but 3 of them. So we're gonna start, I guess, from the first and the original one. So yeah, this one, the first Beatrice, Ecuadorian Beatrice, and the culprit Beatrice. So the first Beatrice right now. So as we see here, this was on episode 1 when the family and the servants, right, were in Kinzo's office and they were talking about Kinzo having a concubine or a mistress basically. So another lover, right, another woman in his life. So if we can see in the scenes, or as we see here, the characters are discussing it, and then Jessica even saying that their grandmother even thought back then that Kinzo was cheating on her, right? And then Genji saying here that this is, or the original one, or the first Beatrice, is technically Kinzo's or one true love, his one true love, right? Then she passed away before the mansion was completed, so she was gone long before the series started. And the date, I guess we can just assume that, yes, just before 1952. So the setting for the game is 1986. So she's been gone for more than 30 years. I mean, at least 30 years. And then when she died, Kinzo was deeply stricken by grief at her loss. The master loved Beatrice-sama from the bottom of his heart. So we can see how Kinzo really loved this woman, right? Even saying inescapable sorrow afterwards. And then yeah, Kumasawa also saying here that it made her even jealous because of how Kinzo loved this woman, right? And then yes, we can see it here, Kinzo's mistress. So I think for this person right here, I think that maybe Kinzo met this person after he became the head of the family, right? So I think he had a wife, Kraus, Rudolph, Rosa, Ava's mother, the first one, right? And then afterwards he met Beatrice, and then yeah, she became his mistress and his true love. So I think for his original wife, it was, let's say, maybe we can say it was an arranged marriage for him, because he wasn't meant to be the head of the family, right? He just became the head of the family because no one was left. So I think his first wife was just mostly like that, an arranged marriage. But later on in life, he found another girl, another woman in his life, this one. And this is his true love. But she died before 1952, I mean. So she died way early, way early. So now, let us talk about the next one, Ecuadorian Beatrice. Beatrice number 2. So how did she live? So we've seen these scenes from episode 3. First time showing us Ecuadorian, right? With Kinzo even having scenes with her and talking to her like she's, I'll explain it later, but yes, we see Kinzo here talking with her asking Kinzo, who am I? But whenever Kinzo asks, who am I? She say, or Kinzo is always avoiding it, doing something else to, how do I say this? To avoid the question or to avoid answering her. right? But then she says this, "Who am I?" No one has answered this question. For some reason, everyone averts their gaze and evades me. So I'm gonna say that Kinzo more or less ordered the other people, right? In Rokinjima, or here specifically in Kowadorian that is working here, to really not talk to this Beatrice. Maybe they did talk to her, but whenever she asks question like this, they just simply avoid her or ignore her, or yeah, not even talk to her. And even here, she's saying, "I think of you as my best friend, even as a father." So yeah, remember that word, even as a father, as my best friend. And then Kinzo replies, "You're Beatrice, the master of this mansion." And then yes, avoiding still. And then he just says that you are Beatrice. Isn't that more than enough? But for her, obviously, she wants to know who she is, right? What she is. But Kinzo doesn't want to say it, no matter what Kowadorian Beatrice says. He just ignores her. So now we see Rosa here. She was the one telling the story, right? On how she met this Beatrice. So for these scenes, by the way, I think these scenes are real. Because maybe sometimes you would say that, how do you know if these scenes were real or not? For me, I'd argue that, yeah, these scenes were real and this most likely happened, right? And then, yeah, we see Rosa right here with Rudolph. And it happened 20 years ago when she met with Beatrice, or Kowadorian Beatrice. So it was 1986 for the setting. And this one is a 20 years, 1986, so 1966, something like that, right? I don't know. "Who are you? The new gardener?" she says. This is when Rosa finally arrived in Kowadorian. And then Rosa asks her, "Are you the witch of the forest, Beatrice?" She says it, right? And this girl, or Beatrice, seems, what is the word for this? Ignorant of what is outside the fence, what is outside the world, what is outside the Kowadorian mansion, because she hasn't gone out there, and she's talking about wolves. Look at this. Are there really no wolves beyond the fence? So I think for this one, it's because Kinzo told her that do not expect or do not wish to go outside of this mansion. Why? Because yes, there are wolves there, but little did she know the wolf was not outside the mansion. It was next to her all this time, right? And then yes, her saying this again, "Who am I? Everyone calls me Beatrice." Even to Rosa, she's saying this. And then she's saying, I think for her, maybe Kinzo told her that she's the reincarnation, right? What he calls revive, or yeah, technically reincarnation of the original Beatrice. So what she's saying here is, but that isn't me. I cannot use magic. I simply have the soul of that witch sealed inside my body. But for the people there, yes, they were saying that she was Beatrice, right? She was the same person as the first one. And that led her to a life of being a prisoner without even realizing it. Her life is kind of sad, I'm not gonna lie. She didn't know anything about the outside world, didn't even understand who she was. And yeah, even this, incapable of recognizing her or her own unhappiness, right? It's kind of sad. Do you want to try going outside the fence, she says. But Rosa said this. And then she says, I want to leave, but the gate is always closed. So yeah, meaning she hasn't gone out of this place even once in her life. There's the place that I came through, Rosa said. So that is the place that they're gonna try to exit through, right? And then now she's very happy, yes. And then look at this again, she asks, there really aren't any wolves out there, right? She keeps asking that. There aren't really wolves out there. Meaning, is Kinzo really instilled this to her, that the outside world is very scary and it's a very bad place, right? Her saying this, I've had enough of this place. I want to go outside and I want to know who I am, what's happening in this world, and why I was born. She was starting to realize that she had to go outside, right? She must have needed courage to take that unspeakable first step outside. She just needed that push, right? She needed that push. And that was Rosa being there. A decision she was probably making for the first time in her life. And yeah, she was so happy this was happening. She was pure and genuine. She'd never learned how to doubt. Her smile was somewhat radiant and pathetic. And she said this, I've had enough of Beatrice. I want to know who I am. I want to start out as a new human, not Beatrice. Take me away from this place. So as we can see for her character itself, or for the personality of the Ecuadorian Beatrice, yeah, she was pure, she was genuine, she was too innocent. Meaning, she kind of has like this, how do I say this, like childlike mentality, I guess. Because of her staying in the mansion her whole life and like super sheltered or whatever. But yeah, for her it's different because she's kind of like a prisoner, right? She's a prisoner, but they were taking care of her well. She just couldn't leave this place. That was it. And yeah, I think this is when it started to get really bad. So Rosa suggested, let's go for the ocean for now. This is because Rosa, when she went here, she was running away, right, from the mansion, from the main mansion, and she ended up here. So she didn't know how to go back. So what Rosa did is she wanted to go outside and go to the ocean. So the whole island is 10 kilometers wide, right? So if you go from the ocean, you can end up in the mansion or the harbor if you just go around it, right? Rather than from the forest, you might, what do you call this, go missing still. And this is when it started, when they were here near the cliffs, near the ocean. And even in this scene right here, she was asking the whales, the dolphins, the penguins. It was quite sad. And then she's saying, I really am looking forward to that. And then this happened. It was over for her. She was gone just like that. Her having her first decision of her whole life and then ending up like this. Just like that. She was so close to getting away from this place and then she died. Such a tragic character, I'm not gonna lie. So who is she? So this is a conversation between Ronove and Butler right here. And then yeah, pretty much they were just talking about how this one is like the thing for Umineko is the wordplay whenever they're talking about this. Like look at this, my lady's soul was shut up in a homunculus and she was revived into this world, receiving life again as a baby. However, because she was a baby, any professions of love on Kinzo's part would have been quite useless. So basically what Ronove is saying that, or saying is, this one is a reincarnation. So yeah, pretty much repetitive reincarnation. She is basically the first Beatrice, right? All that stuff. While her soul was the same, a human spirit is strongly influenced by its container. My lady lost all of her memories and grew up a very normal human girl. So what this means is this girl literally looks like the first Beatrice. Like let's say 99.9% looks like her. It's just what's inside is different, of course, because this is a different person, right? Grandfather had seized Beatrice's soul, shut it up in a body of flesh, and then shut that up in the hidden mansion. And she doesn't even know who she is or how she ended up there. And this is Butler speculating how that happened, right? And he was saying that grandfather met Beatrice, all this stuff, but then, yes, he said, no, probably not. And then he said, maybe there was a girl who looked like Beatrice. No, a baby. Grandfather raised this child with care. So this is the important part here. But maybe he didn't view this child as his daughter. He didn't view this kid as her child, but as her reincarnation. Maybe that's what it meant. So this is the most important part for Ecuadorian Beatrice's character or explanation for her is, yes, She is Kinzo's child, but Kinzo didn't look to her as a daughter, but basically an reincarnation of the first one. So this is just more proof that she really did exist on the island in Koadorian. So this is when Ange was talking with El Capitan in the boat when they were headed to Rokkenjima in 1998. So yeah, this is just a conversation between them. The captain saying that he was going to the mansion, delivering expensive stuff, yeah, a lot of stuff for women. So basically, Kinzo was giving a lot of stuff for Koadorian Beatrice. She was a prisoner. Kinzo took care of her. But yeah, let's talk about that later still. And then yeah, this one came and went for about 20 years, but he never saw her even once. She probably just delivered the goods and then he left, and that's it. And then all coming and going from Koadorian suddenly stopped that. That was about 30 years ago, so around the Showa 1968, he thinks. So yeah, you can say that she was gone after that year. And he was also saying here, like I guess an important part again for the story, that there was a harbor near Koadorian, a hidden harbor. So a harbor you probably cannot see if you're coming from the outside. It's some hidden path or hidden area on the side of the island near Koadorian. That's where he would go, and he knows that there's a hidden harbor there. And then one day he got an urgent message from Genji to never go there again because yes, she was gone. He was not needed anymore. And then he figured out that, going by the reactions of the people there, yes, that she's dead, that he was no longer needed. And even Genji, I think this is another important part for Genji's character, right? Genji-san came to see me face to face and got pushy, strongly urging me to never speak of anything related to the hidden side until I died. So I think we can say here that Genji is a very, very loyal character, right? Very, very loyal character when it comes to secrets. The moment she died, he talked with the captain here, El Capitan, to never talk about this side or this harbor or anything related to it anymore. Never say it to anyone. So this is Koadorian Beatrice, reincarnated, a pure and innocent, genuine girl, right? Her story is just tragic, really sad story. She just wanted to find out who she was, but she couldn't. She was nearly out, but she didn't. She died, I mean. So for her, she's Kinzo's daughter from the first Beatrice. And then, yeah, this is what I was saying. Kinzo defiled her. So I will go into detail much more later for the defiled by Kinzo part here. But I think Kinzo did that. And this is how the third one, Culprit Beatrice, was born. So Culprit Beatrice, she is the mastermind of everything that's happening in the island in Rokkenjima. She is Kinzo's child with his daughter. So yeah, that is very messed up, right, when I say it like that. But that is my theory, my speculation. And I think Kinzo knows, I guess, the existence. Let's say existence. I'm not gonna say identity. Let's say existence of the Culprit Beatrice here. Because, yes, if a person gets pregnant, you need 9 to 10 months, right, to have the baby, right? So Kinzo probably knows that she exists. This child exists. The Culprit Beatrice exists. So I think also the servants know. Who's servants though? Genji, Nanjo, and Kumasawa. I think all those three. As for Genji and Nanjo, technically, yeah, Genji's very loyal. He's worked here ever since the beginning, and technically a friend of Kinzo as well. And then Nanjo, doctor, right? You could even argue or could even say that maybe even back then Nanjo helped with the birth of the other Beatrice, Koadorian Beatrice, right? You could maybe say that as well, right? So a lot of people most likely knows about the existence of the culprit Beatrice. So for Kumasawa, I think Kumasawa is because she was working there for so long. So that could make sense, right? As well. No actual like scenes for that, but I'm just speculating here. So for here, now we need to talk about the accomplices in the games. So I needed to put this here after the Beatrices because there's a lot of connections for the accomplices and the other stuff to the culprit Beatrice before I can reveal my theory, or I can back it up, I mean, for what I'm gonna say, who the culprit actually is. So I need a lot of stuff to talk about first. We talked about for Beatrice for 20 minutes already. Ecuadorian Beatrice's life is quite long, so yeah, very very long. So I think for this one, for the games, for every game, I think all these 5 here, the servants, Genji, Shannon, Kumasawa, Kanon, and Nanjo, I think they're accomplices every single game. It's not shown obviously, but I think that they're accomplices. For example, for Dr. Nanjo could like fake a diagnosis, right? He could say that this person is dead, this person is gone, but in reality they're alive, but Dr. Nanjo is faking it. For Kumasawa, I think even after the first crime, right, in episode 1, you could say that she was always gone. Whenever the first twilight happens, the 666 sacrifices, she's always not there, right? Every single time the first 6 happens, she's not gonna be there, except for the 4th one, I mean. For the 4th one, they were actually in the whole room, right? So, but yeah, I think all of these guys, even Kanon and Shannon, obviously. Kanon and Shannon will be explained much more in detail later, but for now, I'm gonna say that all 5 of these people are accomplices, except for Goda, because for Goda, he is much more newer, and they don't really, I guess, let's say, trust him that much yet. So, the accomplices in different games, all the adults plus Goda. So my explanation for this is, you can say that these characters can be bribed much more easier. Bribed, promise something, given something in return. This is for the game worlds, by the way, okay? I'm not talking about with a real incident in Rokinjima. I'm just talking about the game worlds from here. So, big example, for example, let's say Eva, Hideyoshi, Kirei, Rudolph, Natsui, Kraus, Rosa, and Goda. So this one, episode 1, first mystery, right? First murder, 6 sacrifices. So we had this scene here, Hideyoshi right there, and then who's behind him? It is Kanon, right? And who's at the bottom? It is Shannon. So in this scene, what Hideyoshi said is, do not come here, do not come close. He said this to George. I do not want a person to see their loved ones like this. So Hideyoshi, I guess he knows that George was in love with Shannon, right? And also the ring, the engagement ring that George gave Shannon. So basically he's saying that do not come close here. So I mean, you can say from this scene that maybe he was lying, he was faking what he was doing here. Shannon was maybe it was not Shannon's body. No one got close. What the explanation for this is Shannon's face, half of her face was gone, right? So you can say this might be a fake body. This might be Shannon still though, or this might still be Shannon, but they were just saying she was dead. All that different stuff, right? You can say that, you can speculate or theorize with that. And this one again, for Eva now, when Butler was talking to Eva, what Butler is asking Eva is, so what you mean is that maybe all of the servants were in cahoots. Meaning, Eva is blaming the servants, right? And I was talking earlier that the servants, all of them are accomplices. So what Eva says, please be quiet, okay? It wouldn't be right to voice mere speculation like this. So what happens in a second Twilight? Eva and Hideyoshi dies, right? So what I'm thinking here, because Eva kept putting the blame on the servants, they took them out instead. Because they were too noisy, they were too loud. And let's say even they were accomplices in that specific game, in game number 1, Eva couldn't keep her mouth shut and was trying to give Butler some ideas. So they got taken out by the second episode. And you can also say that it coincides with the second Twilight, right? Those who are close shall be, how do you say it again? Separated or whatever? But something like that. So yeah, it coincides with what was happening at the time. And it's perfect for the second Twilight, both of them. So they can take them out because, yeah, let's say they were annoying, they were talking too much. And also for the Twilight. Second example here, when Rosa stomped on Maria's candy. Remember the scene? Right? And then when Maria asked Beatrice or Beato to fix it, she was closing her eyes and remembering what it looks like. So while she was doing that, Rosa was there. Right, Rosa was there. She saw what happened. She didn't say anything. She was shocked, actually, while this scene was happening. So I think in the second episode, Rosa was an accomplice in the second episode. And that's why she survived up until the end in the second one, right? Like, these are just speculations, man. And I love it, honestly. Like, finding all these scenes or combining them and yeah, talking about it now, it kind of makes sense and it's nice. Okay, now we go to the unwillingly and unknowingly accomplices. Okay, sorry if I like suddenly stop sometimes because I'm drinking water, because I'm talking a lot. So unwillingly, unknowingly accomplices, I think these are the people who are basically being accomplices but they don't know. For example, like Maria right here. Maria is 9 years old. She loves witches a lot, right? She loves witches a lot. And if Beatrice comes to her and says that, this one, I'll give you a letter and the umbrella, and then tell the adults that I was the one who gave it to you, the Golden Witch Beatrice. And then Maria tells them, right? She believes them instantly, no questions asked. So that makes a person unknowingly accomplished. She doesn't know what she's doing, she just thinks that this was fun, right? She became an accomplice without even knowing the meaning of that. And this one as well, in the first episode, when she was facing the wall, when Kumasawa, Genji, and Nanjo died, right? She was just there. She was just singing. She might think that this was just a game, maybe a faked, or she ultimately believes that they're just gonna go to the Golden Land after this is finished. That's why she would just listen to whatever said person said to her. Just go in the corner and sing. Do not look behind no matter what. And then for Jessica, another example. When episode 4, when Jessica was talking to Butler, right? Saying that they are demons that can freely wield terrifying magic. So you can argue here that Jessica might be threatened. Who knows how, but yeah, she became an accomplice by telling Butler that the enemies in the mansion are demons and then they can use magic. Even though we can say that is not true, someone could have just threatened her and then killed her afterwards, right? Telling her to call Butler, say this to him, and then they killed her afterwards. So they became the accomplice, or an accomplice, I mean, in the end before they died in that episode. So that is an explanation for the unknowing or unwilling accomplices. So big one now. Kinzo Ushiromiya. I think this is gonna be a big one. Big explanation for this. This will include the witch's epitaph as well, as I think that it was solved before the events of 1986 even. So we're gonna talk about this. Okay. Is Kinzo dead? Father is probably dead. Already dead, I mean. Kire asked. This is episode 4. So this was the first, I guess, time that they gave this idea that Kinzo was probably dead. Actually, for me, I didn't even think Kinzo was dead. Because when I'm playing this game, like I'm being fully immersed, that I don't really look at the other stuff, right? Like, okay. And then when they announced this, I started to realize that, yeah, Kinzo might be dead. Because Kinzo doesn't really show himself, I mean, to other people, right? Except the servants, technically. And then we can say Natsui as well, Kraus. But no, but Kraus, they didn't really show any scenes for that. It was only Natsui or the servants. It was always them, right? And now you can think that, oh, maybe he actually is gone. Maybe he actually was dead, right? So this one was in the 4th episode when Butler was doing his battle with Beatrice, the battle of the Tea Party, right? The blue troops and the red troops. So for this one, I remember Lambda Delta saying on their Tea Party that for Butler's blue troops, most of them or some of them were kind of rubbish, and Beatrice was just agreeing to them nonchalantly, like she's just agreeing to it, right? But I think this one is real though. I think this one is really real. When Butler says Kinzo is already dead, Kinzo wasn't there in the first place. So this is a red recruit from Beatrice. All of those present at the family conference acknowledge the existence of Kinzo. So what this means is, for me personally, is when they saw Kinzo, it might be Kinzo in name or title, they acknowledged him. I think you can remove the word Kinzo and just change it to heir or successor, right? Then this one for Butler, that grandfather was a different person, a body double, a different person who the relatives mistook for grandfather. But Beatrice countered it that no person would mistake Ushiromiya Kinzo by sight. No matter what disguise, they would not mistake Ushiromiya Kinzo by sight. So meaning, there is no body double for Kinzo. There was never a body double. You cannot hire someone to be Kinzo. And now, Beatrice says Kinzo's life or death status is the same at the start of each of the 4 games. The setup was not different for the 4th game alone, so meaning if he was dead already, he was dead the whole time. No matter what game it was, 1 or the 4th one, he was gone already. And then he says this, repeated, Kinzo was alive at the start of every game. She refused to repeat it, right? So my theory now is Kinzo's name is passed on as a title of the Ushiromiya head. So as I was saying earlier, Umineko is really invested in doing wordplay or the wording of the words. So you can say that whenever they say Kinzo, you can say that they're actually talking about the head, the new head of the family, the new heir or the successor. It's not Kinzo himself, but it is the new head, the new successor to the family. He passed his name on to someone, everyone acknowledged, all those present at the family conference acknowledged the existence of Kinzo. There wasn't even any need for this person to disguise themselves as a grandfather because everyone recognized a new Kinzo. Therefore, they didn't actually mistake Kinzo by sight, right? And he's saying he was dead already. He's saying this to Kinzo. Kinzo was already dead. Your corpse, it was always burnt. Yeah, it was just a gimmick. You remember this burnt one, this burnt part here. Discovery of the fact that a time has passed since your death. You pass your name onto someone else, even though you're dead. Kinzo can still appear at the family conference. So what I mean by this is, or what this means, how I interpret it, is, yes, the witch's epitaph was solved. Someone solved it before the events of 1986. Who knows what year did it get solved, but it was solved. Someone solved it, became the new Kinzo, as the other or the original Kinzo died. So you can say for this one, everyone acknowledged it easy because yes, it involves a lot of money, right? It involves gold. So these adults here would easily acknowledge said person. No question asked. If this person came out and said, okay, I'm the new Kinzo, I'm the new head, but you're gonna have a chance to still be the successor, still get the gold, you just have to listen to me. And there is when the ritual started for the people in Rokinjima or the Ushiromiya family, right? And yes, checkmate. Checkmate, really checkmate. So here, Kinzo Ushiromiya dead. Then this other Kinzo is basically the new head and successor. So this is what do you call this? These are the people who knows that Kinzo is dead. Yes, the servants, Genji, Nanjo, Kumasawa, Kanon, Shannon, Natsuhi, and Kraus. They are the ones who knows that Kinzo are dead. So for what do you call this? For the others, you could say maybe they were just following what Natsuhi is saying. Maybe some of them got bribes, right? Maybe Natsuhi, Kraus paid them off. Who knows, right? Maybe it's just loyalty. Who knows? But the reason they hid this is because yes, Kraus technically needs money, right? Because of their businesses and stuff. So they need all of that assets first before they can reveal, or they need to fix those first before they reveal that Kinzo has died or missing or whatever, right? So I think these are the people who just knows that Kinzo or Kinzo Ushiromiya himself is gone. So how did Kinzo die? I think this is a big question. How did he die? So before he dies, or before we explain how he died, let's look at the scene right here. Kinzo's apology. Let me apologize for my crimes, he said. Kinzo says, I mean. And then these are other stuff, I guess. And then later on, Kinzo said, that is wrong. I didn't want to say something like this. Let me see you one more time. Even if you only let me apologize. I made a mistake. I made a mistake back then. I did something that cannot be taken back. So this scene right here, I think he was saying this to the Ecuadorian Beatrice, right? The one he did the bad things on. So this is how I connected the stuff. Like, connected how he defiled his daughter, I mean. Is because in episode 2, he had this apology that he was doing. I have offered the whole remainder of my life in order to apologize to you. In order to atone for my sins, I offered everything. So please, even if it must happen as I die. So basically, when she died, I guess you can say that he was also in grief. Just like the first one, right? And then he spent his whole life trying to get her back again, I guess. In a sense, in a way, right? So he can finally apologize to her on what he did. I think Kinzo, yeah. Kinzo was the start of everything. He is the problem. He was the problem. If he didn't do that, I think the events of the Rokinjima incident wouldn't even happen, but he was at fault. This is all his fault, no joke. Let me apologize just this once, he says. So, this is another scene, but this is from episode 3 instead. So I think this is George and Butler talking about grandfather. Grandfather succeeded in that miracle in his last moments. The culprit is revived. Grandfather was reunited with her at the moment, killed by her, and then got killed by her. So I'll explain this a little bit later. Grandfather probably managed to meet her. Even though it was only for a short time, he was reunited with the woman he wished to see once again. So let's continue first. The last day of his life, he revived the person he loved most and then succeeded in his reunion in his final moments. So I think what this means, or what I got from this, is before Kinzo died, he found Beatrice, right? So this is like a little timeline, I guess. He died October 4th, 1986. So no, not October 4th. He died before, I mean. So yeah, we don't know the exact date, but he died before October 4th, 1986. He died with no regrets. Basically, what this means is he got to apologize to Beatrice. It didn't matter if that was actually Beatrice. It mattered to Kinzo that the way he saw a person, he thought it was Beatrice, and then he apologized, and then he probably died afterwards. Maybe he like, you could say that after he said his apology, he got weaker and weaker and weaker, and then he died, right? And then the last one, of course, he's a vile, pretty much a bad person. So how did Kinzo apologize? Now, this is my explanation for this. The Witch's Epitaph, okay? So, this is an explanation for the Witch's Epitaph. When was it found? It was found in April of the year before last. So you could say April before the year last, or sorry, but you can say 2 years. I mean, 2 years. So this was October 4th from the start, right? So you can say 2 years before, 1984, we could say, is the first time the epitaph was put into the mansion, right? This one. What is the purpose of it? To find a successor. To find a successor to the family, or to find the head of the family. But, okay, let's look at this one first. This is the epitaph itself. We can see this. But at the bottom here, it says, "Sleep peacefully, my beloved witch, Beatrice," right? That is included in the witch's epitaph. So I think the reason for the epitaph, or the reason for this, is probably not to look for a head or successor. Maybe you could say it was part of it. But what if he was trying to find Beatrice, right? Maybe he was trying to find her. So let's do an explanation for this. So the reason I think that he was trying to find Beatrice is Kinzo was known, that he was one of the top, like say, demonologists or whatever, top 5 authorities. This guy here, when Ange talked to him, was talking about this. He had a lot of books in Kowadorian about the occult at the Ushiromiya library. So pretty much his collection of occult stuff in Kowadorian was insane. It was a lot, and it was insane, meaning he was really, really into the occult, right? He really believed that he could bring Beatrice back. So I think this is one of the explanations when he said earlier that he gave his whole entire life to at least apologize to her. He believed at that moment that, or he was a believer that he could bring Beatrice back, right? So I guess by the time of 1984, something happened that made him put a witch's epitaph there to find Beatrice. And the name Rokinjima had taken on a vital meaning in the world of occult because of the collection of Kinzo itself. So I think, as I said, the culprit solved it. The culprit itself solved it. But how did she solve it? So this is the one, I think, the reason she solved it, or how she solved it. Once it had been displayed for an appropriate amount of time, this is when Okonogi was talking with Ange, right? So disregard what they're talking from the other side. So I think that give her the answer. I think said culprit was helped, right? She was helped to finish, not technically helped, but guided. We can say guided to solve the epitaph. Like, the epitaph is kind of hard to solve, that you really need, or let's say it was impossible to solve. and if you can solve it, you need to do a lot. So maybe someone was helping said person and put them right in their what do you call this, or put them back in the right path. So when they were solving this, let's say they would accidentally move to a wrong place, or this is the wrong path they're doing, another person, or let's say the servants, right? I was talking about them earlier. They knew about the identity of the culprit Beatrice. Maybe they were helping her solve this epitaph. This one, yes, Genji, Kumasawa, Nanjo. But I think this is gonna be more on Genji, I suppose. Maybe for him, he was a loyal friend of Kinzo, and maybe Kinzo was talking about a lot of this occult stuff, and then Genji wanted this epitaph to be solved, right? So maybe that's why he helped her. It would benefit Kinzo as well if this got solved. He would finally apologize to Beatrice. So this is the timeline, I think, on how it happened, okay? So X meaning the culprit, okay? X solved the epitaph. She became Beatrice. And then when she became Beatrice, what I mean is she became Beatrice is she became the Golden Witch once they solved it, right? Like, I think there is much more into like dramatics here. Like they maybe dressed her up like Beatrice herself. I don't think the culprit looks like Beatrice, but I think that maybe they dressed her up to look like her. The servants called Kinzo, and Kinzo, looking at this person, believed that she was Beatrice. And then I guess after a while, I don't know, then she accepted the apology, not knowing what he did. Maybe she just said that, yeah, okay, I'll play along, or something like that, right? Maybe you can just say that. Very simple explanation. And then he died. He died with no regrets because, he finally apologized to Beatrice. So the timeline for this, and afterwards, Beatrice discovered her history. How she was connected to Kinzo, how she became the culprit afterwards, right? If you discover your history, and your history is like that, I'll explain more in detail later. But yeah, I think this is how the timeline for her solving the mystery or solving the witch's epitaph, and then how Kinzo apologized, how Kinzo died. I think this all ties to my theory of that. That's why I was saying earlier that a lot of stuff are connected, and it's very, very hard to explain. You need to explain this, and then you need to explain the other one as well. Okay, why did it continue? But I guess before we talk about that, I'll just say that Kinzo is actually like literally bad, right? Because he didn't have any regrets when he died. His regrets were only for Beatrice herself, the Coadorian Beatrice. He didn't have any regrets for what he did to his other kids, to Kraus, to Eva, to Rudolph, to Rosa, how he treated his grandkids like that. He treated them as trash. He treated them as what? As failures, right? He didn't care about them, and even in the end, his only regret is what he did with Coadorian Beatrice. That was his only regret in life. The other stuff was nothing, basically. And that's how we can see Kinzo as basically trash. He was literally a bad person. He didn't even care about his other kids. Only this one, right? Just sad. Why did it continue? Because I think she wanted to continue. Said culprit wanted this to continue still, and that's it. Just like how Eva continued the ritual in the third episode, right? Why did Eva continue? Because she just wanted to kill the people. I think that was the reason why. And I guess it ties into how she finally knows her history, I guess. Maybe trying to take revenge, all that different stuff. But yeah, simple explanation. She just wanted to continue the ritual because it was solved, right? Let's say it was solved in, it said 1984. Let's say it was solved there. So she just wanted to continue that, or just make it show when the people came back in 1986, and that is it. So what happened to Kinzo's body? So for Kinzo's body, I think this is the time we always say Kinzo, right? He's always burned like this. Every single game, he's burned. No matter what game, we may find him burned already, or he's just gonna die by burning like this. So I think for him, at first I actually thought it was cremated, but I think maybe the cremated part is just a show. As Butler said, it was a gimmick. Gimmick meaning they were just showing Kinzo being burned all the time, because I think the culprit really hates Kinzo with what he did. When she found out his history, she just, whenever we see Kinzo in the game world, he always ends up like this because she thinks this is better suited for him to burn, right? Because of all the things he did. He deserves to die like that. But I don't think this is how he actually died, or how his body is, I mean. Yeah, his body. I don't think his body is like that. I don't think he's buried as well. I think this is the least likely what happened, him getting buried. So the third one, I think he was just put into a morgue, maybe hidden in hidden underground, or maybe hidden somewhere else, or frozen. Technically a storage, right, for the body itself. Because remember when we see the letter that Maria is giving, from time to time we always see that the letter has the stamp, right? The stamp, I mean stamp, not stamp. The ring and the stamp, right, of the head. So more or less, when Kinzo died, his body was instantly put into storage without even changing his clothes, without even taking the ring from the body. So I think it's very, very easily accessible because the ring is with Kinzo all the time in the storage. That's why when Natsuhi and Kraus, whenever they get the letters, right, they notice, why is the ring there? Why is the stamp of the head there? Because they didn't take the ring. They just instantly put him into the storage, even though they know that he was dead. I think that is my explanation for that. On to the next. Can we solve the secret of the epitaph? This is, I think, one of the best parts when I was making this compilation for my thoughts and theories. Because I didn't solve it, obviously I didn't solve it. But it was quite fun. So can we solve the secret? I think we can solve it, but you need to do a lot of research, especially in like different languages. And I think the actual answer is not shown in the game itself. You need to like research it outside. So quite a lot of research is what I'm saying. So this is the first, I guess, explanation for that. Not first, but the witch's epitaph was thought of as a difficult quiz. So I put an underline there. Difficult quiz. As I was saying earlier, right? When the culprit solved the witch's epitaph, she needed help. Not technically, not fully, but someone was guiding her to finish the epitaph, because let's say it was really hard, and you can say that you really need a miracle or the power of magic to fully solve it. But if someone was guiding you to solve it, and then it might be much more easier, right? So this one, I think these are gonna be the hints for the epitaph itself. These are the hints that I found out. So this was episode 2 when the murder in the chapel happened, right? So we see this, a butler saying, "I'm not really good in English. This door is open only at the probability of right? That was a clue there. I didn't even notice this back then. It was just when we saw a scene from episode 4. And then George says here, MBTQ. I remember him saying this and I was like, what does that mean? What? I didn't even understand this back then. It was just kind of find it kind of weird. But then we go here to Ange when she was talking to Kumasawa's son. So Kumasawa was, one of the servants who really wanted to solve the Epitaph, right? I guess she was, into the Epitaph stuff, so she was trying to solve it. So now, we see it here. Probability of quadrillion to 1. And then probability of quadrillion to 1. So quadrillion, or probability I mean, the probability is written here. They just didn't mention it. So when George said MBTQ, now we could say that this is what? Million, billion, trillion, and then quadrillion. So that is the door. That is one of the hints, right? Quadrillion to 1. That word quadrillion. And it was an English word, I guess, when they were reading it. Translated into Japanese. That's why I said that you need a lot of different languages if you want to solve this epitaph. Kumasawa tried to solve it, and then trying to solve the riddle of the epitaph. I think she was just trying, but she knew. Maybe she was how do I put this? She joined them afterwards. Not joined. What I mean is she was trying to solve it. Maybe she was getting closer and the other servants like Genji brought her into the fold on what is up with the epitaph, right? And then she probably stopped trying to solve it afterwards, right? Maybe you could say that. Mother was actually surprisingly fond of that kind of thing. So this is one of her pictures, I guess. And I guess as you travel down it, you will see a village. In that village, look for the shore the two will tell you of. So I think maybe the actual entrance to the place here is in the chapel, right? And I think the lions there, the two lions, the two will tell you where the entrance is. I think maybe, I'm not sure, right? I'm not really sure, but there was a picture that Kumasawa had. And they were showing these two lions. So, who knows, right? Are they relevant? Probably. And here we are with Hideyoshi. This is when, third episode, the adults are trying to solve it themselves, the epitaph. They were talking about the sweet fish are like lemon. They're freshwater fish. So I think this is one of the hints again. I tried to actually search freshwater river, sweet fish river, but there's a lot. If you try to search that, let's say sweet fish or freshwater river in Japan, there are a lot of results. And as I was saying, that's why it was kind of hard to solve it, because you need to research all of that, right? They were talking about also Odawara, but then a lot of them kind of denied it, that it's probably not Odawara and it's more on freshwater river or sweet fish river, something like that. I didn't fully try to search it because when I want to solve it, I want to solve it if it's in the game. But if I'm gonna need to like Google it, I'm like I'll probably pass for now, right? So this is Kiri again. This key indicates a certain group of 6. A certain group of 6 things. Kill actually means remove in that sense, right? The word with 6 characters. Playing with letters, Krause said. And then Eva, when she was solving it, right, she mentioned the Sweet Fish River again. Sweet Fish River. And this is what I'm saying about the different languages. You got, what do you call this again? Kanji, katakana? How do you say that? But technically this, you need to know Japanese, I guess, if you want to solve this. I don't know Japanese, so that's gonna be hard for me. And more of that, sure. Again, they have an explanation here or an translation, but I think the actual how do you say that, letter or character is the one we need, and I don't even know how is this gonna work. So this is where I end up. I didn't include a screenshot. No, when Ava was saying that the key is like 6 letters. So door equals quadrillion, key equals 6 letters basically. I think I forgot to include that, sorry. But yeah, Ava was talking about the key is 6 letters technically. And yeah, that's what we need to find. So this is how I understand this. If we have an example, this is just an example, okay? So the door is quadrillion. The key, this is an example key, around. So we got 6 letters here, around. So on the first twilight, sacrifice the key, or sacrifice 6 chosen by the key. So I think this is how it works. So if you have the word around, you're gonna have to remove the letters from it. So for example, around, A, remove A from quadrillion, O from quadrillion, U, then N, D, R, etc. So on and so forth, right? So from that word, once we remove those 6 from the word quadrillion, and then we need to, those remain shall tear them apart. I don't know what that means because I don't know the key. But for the third twilight, I think for the third twilight it literally means those who remain shall praise my noble name. So technically, I think this is the answer itself. When it says noble name, this is the actual keyword that we need to solve the epitaph, right? And the other ones are basically the 4th twilight, 5th twilight, 6th twilight, 7th twilight. I think those are instructions on how to apply it, how to use the word that you get from this, and then yeah, get to the golden land technically, right? So the other one, yeah, for the 4th, 5th, 6th, you need to be in the actual Umineko world to actually apply what you get from this. But for me, I did not get it. This is just, yeah, this is how I understood it, and that's it for me. I didn't go or pursue it any further anymore. Yeah, door, quadrillion, Sweetfish River, freshwater, 2 lions, different languages, 6 word key. That's quite a lot. But yeah, once you get the key, I think it's gonna be much more easier. Or yeah, it will be the answer technically. But that's the hardest thing to find. So for now, I don't have it. We're gonna move on to the next. 17 humans. Okay, 17 humans. Beatrice said this. There no more than 17 humans exist on the island. It was 18. She lowered it to 17. And I think these are all of them, technically. This, them, these 2. But most importantly, these 2, right? Okay, I think you know where I'm going from here, but let's talk about Butler's test first. So for Butler, among the 3 mentioned below, in order to gain 2, sacrifice 1. Your life, blank's life. So we're getting closer now to me saying who the culprit is, right? So yeah, since they had an obvious feelings for certain people, I don't know whom you have feelings for. So technically Beatrice is trying to remind Butler who he loved, right? Who he loved. However, for this 6 years, you have thrown away that Ushiromiya name. This one is Beatrice telling Butler that when he left, right, he didn't come back for 6 years. So basically, technically he left the Ushiromiya family, right? He lived with his grandfather, right? Come, try to remember your own sin. Remember that, confess and repent. And then I guess I just included this one because for Rudolph, showing what kind of person Rudolph is. So Rudolph said sorry, right? He was even kneeling. He seriously bowed for Butler just to come back to the family, right? Yeah. And then, yeah, just more of the conversation. Where are we? Rokinjima. So, isn't there a sin you ought to remember fitting for this place? Remember, Butler, not being able to remember that is your sin. For that reason, I shall forgive you. But you need to remember that, though. 6 years ago or something, but I suppose we met you for the first time at this family conference. So it's true that your legend also existed 6 years ago. On Rokinjima of 6 years ago, I had not yet materialized. So this is what I was talking about earlier when she became the new head. She became Beatrice, right? Back then, she was not Beatrice. She was a different person back then. No, or not technically a different person, but she was not Beatrice, right? So that's what we're gonna have to find out. I had not materialized 6 years ago, so there was no way for me to be acquainted to you. 6 years ago, no person called Beatrice existed for me. Does this sin have anything to do with you and me? I had no connection to you 6 years ago. What she's saying here is Beatrice, this one, does not have a connection. The name Beatrice does not have a connection to Butler. That's what she's saying. Okay, no problem between me and you has anything to do with this. So he is another person, another name. Not technically another person, but another name. The sin I am now demanding that you remember is not between Ushiromiya Butler and Beatrice. And then, this is just another scene I included. Episode 2. As early as episode 2, they were talking about promises. Beatrice saying, I keep promises, but not once have I disregarded a promise I've spoken. What about you humans? Do you always keep your promises? And then Butler says, keep your promises. It's hard to imagine that we always follow them properly. So yeah, as early as episode 2, they were trying to like hint something about promises. So that's why I included here. From my perspective, humans are truly selfish monsters. There's nothing as dubious as a human's promise. So yeah, there was no test back then in episode 2. But they were hinting that something like this was gonna be big and connected to Butler. But not once have I disregarded a promise I've spoken. So Beatrice was the one talking about this. So okay, the questions are, different identity. Who was this person back then? If she was not Beatrice, who was she? Butler's obsession, Butler's sin, and Butler's love. Okay. A different identity. So for this, I think yeah, we're gonna start now for the actual explanation for me, for the culprit itself. So here we are. Finally, right? Finally we're here. Shannon, it's nice to see you after 6 years. It's me, Shannon. 6 years ago, you might mistaken me for a servant's daughter. But now, you're a fully fledged adult servant. How long have you been working here? Well, I had the pleasure of serving this household for about 10 years. That means, yes, Shannon was working here for 10 years already. So, she was a kid when she started working here. Right? So, yeah. That gives you hints, right? This was in episode 1, by the way. The kanji for her name are read as Shannon. Now here's another name that's far from the typical for a Japanese person. I accepted her name without paying it much attention. Her name is pretty unusual, Butler says. A servant's professional name or something. But yes, we do know her actual name. Her name is Sayo. Sayo, my oldest friend, Jessica says in episode 2. Similar to Kanon, right? Her appearance had changed so much that I couldn't match her to the person in my memories, but we knew each other 6 years ago. Right? Right? Okay. That shy part of her had always been there, but she did seem to have developed the allure you'd expect of a girl her age. Especially in that area. Okay. So, Butler's obsession. Okay, for Butler's obsession, this. I think it's just mostly a joke that I just took, right? This is not really anything relevant. I mean, I think you could say relevant, but it's not really that big. I mean, not the breast, but I mean, for connecting the character itself. So yeah, Beatrice is saying, your breast sommelier, blonde and bouncy is the best. Am I not truly the embodiment of your ideal? So what she's saying is, when they were kids, Butler probably when they were talking back then, Butler was like maybe doing dirty jokes, saying that he likes girls that has like big boobs and all that stuff, right? And you know how kids are, especially boy kids, right? And then yeah, from episode 1 from the beginning, we saw Butler always doing this stuff to Jessica. He even did it to Kumasawa as a joke, obviously, and then to Shannon as well. So it's just kind of funny, I suppose. And then this is when Butler was gonna do it to Shannon. The counter-strike had yet to come, meaning he was doing a joke, but Shannon wouldn't do anything. She was just standing there, right? And the joke is getting too far, right? So he was saying here, please eat me right now or I'm seriously gonna... And then Jessica hit him there, so he would stop from his joke, right? But yeah. The only one who played along is what I'm saying is Shannon. Shannon played along with the jokes of Butler. Obviously, she was not gonna allow that, but she was just playing along. And then we see here Butler saying that you gotta hit me back. But then Shannon says, you are an important guest, Butler-sama. I couldn't do such a thing. I cannot fulfill your request. So what I'm saying is yes, Shannon was just playing along. But I mean, I don't know. Look at the appearance of Shannon, right? She has a big, or she was well endowed, I guess you can say that. And then yeah, with what Beatrice was saying in episode 4 of Butler being a breast sommelier, I just connected that parts there. It's not really that important for me. It's just kind of funny. That's why I included it here. But yeah, Butler's sin and promise. Now, here we go. Here we go again. What do you mean 6 years ago? It's pretty unfair to expect me to remember everything, don't you think? So, for this, you can remember well because it was 6 years ago. I can remember it as clearly as it happened yesterday. So what they're saying in this scene here is Shannon has a really good memory. She has a great memory. George says it. Jessica says it. And then yes, here Jessica asks Shannon, what kind of interesting episodes do you remember back then, like for Butler? And then she says this, Butler was gracious enough to remain the same, as he was 6 years ago. So pretty much Butler did not change. He's still the same Butler. He was, and then he has a pause there. Well, very energetic. So that's why I can say that he did like jokes, like dirty jokes back then. You can say, yeah, from the boobs, from the breast. So you can say Butler was that kind of kid. That one who would talk about the opais, right? Yes. And then this is the actual promise, I think, what happened there. I'll be back. See you again. I'll surely come for you, riding a white horse. So I think this is actually Butler's promise to her. Butler coming back to get her from this island, right? But he did not return. And then for Jessica here, now they keep talking about Butler would always say these stupid lines. Like he would say it in a whim. Like for him, it didn't really mean anything, right? But yeah, he would just say it technically. It's one of those bittersweet things everyone does in adolescence as they transition to become adults. A memory you just want to forget. Maybe he thought it was very cheesy. He just said it on a whim. Just said it to a girl, right? And that's why he didn't remember it. All this stuff, this was all stuff I'd let slip out without thinking, so I didn't remember the words exactly. Yes, you see that? I was just born with the habit of speaking without thinking, and there's nothing I can do about it. So yeah, what they're saying here is Butler just, whenever something appears in his mind, he just says it to people, and maybe Shannon interpreted it differently, right? So maybe that's why she got angry. He didn't come back for 6 years after he said that. She was waiting for him. And then Shannon's saying she remembers a lot more, but she doesn't want to say it because said person doesn't want to talk about it anymore. And then Butler says, to be brutally honest, I don't remember this at all, so please don't make me remember. 6 years ago, huh? That's a long time ago. What did those 6 years mean to me? I've just gotten taller. It was just a waste of time. 6 years I spent obstinately fighting with my dad. And then this one, what Jessica said, when girls get wrong impressions, it can be scary, you know. They might be having secret feuds over you behind your back, with people getting hurt or crying. So this was said in episode 3. Now it means something much more. Them having a conversation like this was very simple, but now, looking at it, it looks, yeah, it's a different meaning now. 6 years of puberty are pretty important, and they went by pretty fast. And then he says, maybe I'll try thinking more seriously about the opposite sex, more than just the size of their boobs. Butler's love. Okay. So for Butler, his love, I think he did really love her. 6 years ago, I remember taking notice of her, just a little bit. Goodbye, my fleeting first love of 6 years ago. So, 6 years ago, Shannon was Butler's first love. And now we can see it here as Butler says it, right? So he really loved Shannon back then, but he forgot about it. The collection of embarrassing lines Shannon-chan had just held back on probably had something to do with that. Okay. Shannon and Kanon this time. Give me a second. Okay, Shannon and Kanon. So, this is like a basic, what do you call this? Introduction to them, I guess. They had no parents. They've been brought up in the Fukuin house, the orphanage. Under the guidance of Kinzo, the orphanage offered members who excelled a chance for on-the-job service or serving experience. Servants from the Fukuin house all took names with the character On in the name. So Shannon wasn't her real name. The same went for Kanon. So yes, as we learned, Shannon's name is Sayo. For Kanon, we don't know. All of the members of the Fukuin house were orphans, separated from their parents under, remember that word, special circumstances, right? And while Shannon and Kanon were working in the mansion today, rotation schedule, there were not many servants who stayed with the Ushiromiya for long. It was standard for them to quit after 3 years, but Shannon, who had been working for 10 years, was a notable exception to that rule. Maybe the fact that Shannon managed to continue working for 10 years wasn't because she had more willpower than the others. Maybe she has gotten stuck working for 10 years because she didn't have the courage to say she didn't want to quit. And then yes, saying that Kinzo's blood relatives, he couldn't trust them. He would only trust on the, basically on the servants, right? And then yes, they would work under him, work close with him. So yes, I think this is also another hint that they were saying that Shannon was working here. I mean, for 10 years, she was an orphan. So remember when we were talking about earlier about the culprit, that for culprit Beatrice, she is the daughter of Kinzo, right? But we don't know if, I mean, we know that Kinzo most likely knows about her, but something happened. We don't, this is the blank part there. What happened between, let's say, her birth and her appearing in the mansion, right? Why was she in Fukuin house? Why was she in the orphanage? That is a big blank there. Could, maybe we can make some theories here that maybe Dr. Nanjo or Genji, maybe they hid this little baby from Kinzo, or they just said that, yeah, the baby died. Maybe you can say that. And then they brought the kid to the Fukuin house, and then later on, she went back to the Ushiromiya house to be a servant now, right? And Kinzo didn't know that the one working as Shannon was his daughter all along, right? But we can say that the others knew. Genji and then, yeah, Nanjo, they probably knew Kumasawa as well. But the master himself didn't know that, yes, that she was alive. So yeah, we can make connections there. So this is Shannon saying that Kanon likes or looks to her as a big sister. And then more furniture this time. I think whenever they say furniture for a character, I think what they mean is they look at themselves as a very low human, right? Very, very low. They don't, yeah, they don't look at themselves as normal. They look at them as very, very small human being. They look down on themselves, and that's it. That's how I interpret this. That's why when they say cannot love, how, yeah, because she thinks that she is a servant. She cannot love anyone. She cannot love George, right? Because she's a servant. Shannon, I mean, right? Shannon. And then when Jessica here was talking to Kanon about being a furniture, so we have, I guess, let's say 2 interpretations of servants or furniture, I mean. So one is when I was saying like Shannon and Kanon think themselves as a lower person, a lower human being, right? And then there's another interpretation for that with Genji. Servants are living furniture. Genji says it a lot, meaning a person like Genji is a furniture because he is super loyal. He is extremely loyal to the master, to Kinzo. I think that's his explanation for that one. And then Jessica says to him, "We're all human, aren't we?" And then Kanon just says, "I am furniture and my lady is not." And this is still Kanon. Human children may have need to play, but we are furniture. Nesan is also furniture. Even if she pretends to be a person, it will only hurt her later. I understand that, so I try not to get too close to people. That is all. So yeah, they look to themselves as, or at least Kanon looks to himself as furniture, that nothing will ever happen, so they don't want to pursue anything, right? He doesn't want to pursue anything with Jessica because he thinks in the end, as him being furniture, it will just end badly, so he doesn't want to do anything. Okay, love. Love for the character, Shannon's love. So for Shannon, we've seen her in this game, in the episodes, that she is expressing her love, right? She's expressing her love to George. We see their scenes going to Okinawa, George proposal. We see that there's love there that is being shown, right? Kanon's love. Kanon's love is basically, he doesn't want to show it. He's repressing it. But he opened up to his sister here, to Shannon, to his sister, and he wants to become human. He has a habit of being a furniture. He wants to love. I wanted to fall in love too. I like my lady. So we can see him being in love, but he's always suppressing it though. He doesn't want to show it. But he can openly say it to his sister here, but he couldn't say it to Jessica, right? Because he thinks it's furniture. Then Shannon says, "We may be furniture, we may be less than human." See? Less than human. But that doesn't mean that we aren't qualified for love. And then, yeah. Kanon is like, "I thought that if these feelings wouldn't ever come to anything, it'd be better of not having them. I just decided that eventually I'd disappear and that it definitely hurt her." No, that's wrong. "I was just frightened. I was just afraid, thinking that any love that couldn't be eternal was best avoided." So he just got angry. And then he was getting angry at Beatrice again. For, what do you call this? For saying, or for planting these ideas of being in love with Jessica, right? So technically, the difference between him and Shannon were Shannon expresses love, while Kanon, he feels love, but he suppresses it all every single time. He doesn't want to show it. That's why he can open up to his sister, to Shannon, but to other people, he's not showing anything. He's not showing any feelings or expressions. So for Kanon, more of it, introduction to him, slender boy, just remember those words. Slender boy, younger than me. He's unsociable compared to Shannon, right? That Shannon is always talking with to the cousins, while Kanon is not. And then I am the servant Kanon. Unsociable, or at least not so good at talking. And then there we go again. Furniture from episode 1. So remember this, by the way. You've been working here for 3 years. For 3 years. Okay, I think this will... I will give an explanation for this one, but remember that 3 years, Slender Boy. Kanon's 2 years younger than us, so he's 16 years old, so much more younger than the kids. A little bit. And then remember this as well, but it looked like he was having trouble getting his arms around and lifting up some sacks of fertilizer. Kanon-kun was having trouble with the sacks of fertilizer. And then but for Butler, it was so easy, right? But why it was so easy? We'll see. Kanon-kun looked like he hadn't gone through his growth spurt yet. He was stuck with sorta a weak body. Kanon's deaths. So for Kanon's deaths right here, it is very, how do I say this? Suspicious all the time, I'll say. Not all the time, but you can say. This is from the first episode. He did not regain any consciousness. Dr. Nanjo and the rest did all they could to heal him, but yeah, he was dead. And at this moment, he was the only human to ever confront the culprit, right? He was in the boiler room. He was alone there and then he died, right? So isn't that suspicious? It was already too late. Dr. Nanjo and George carried Kanon to the servants' room. Kumasawa Jessica was there as well. So you can see that Nanjo and Kumasawa were there, right? The ones that I think that are accomplices in every game. So this is the second game when Kanon's body disappeared in the second game. He died, but then it disappeared, right? When they were interpreting this as magic, his body just disappeared for some reason, right? And yeah, you could say that it's very suspicious how he died there. And then this is the second one when he came back. In the second episode, he came back and then his body was there and then he was gone again. Kanon was nowhere to be seen. He disappeared. And this one, third episode, when Kanon appeared to Jessica. Jessica was blindfolded because she was kind of blinded at the time. And she heard Kanon there. For some reason, he was there. Why was he there? That is very suspicious again, right? And this is the fourth episode when Kanon was going up the ladder, escaping the dungeon. He was the one left. He was the last one to go up. And then he died again. No one could see how he died. He just, yeah. He was going up and then they were saying that a hole the size of a basketball opened in his chest and then he fell down, right? His corpse is now in the depths of the well beyond discover. So we don't know how he actually died. Maybe he was pretending that he was dead. Yeah, right? But later on in the character sheet, it says here that he died, right? Said here that he died, but it was afterwards probably, or maybe at that time as well. But very, very suspicious indeed. Okay, conversation in the dungeon. Now, this is the conversation that made me suspicious about these two. This one was in the fourth episode. And it was just, yeah, it was insane what they were talking about here. So give me a second. Okay, this time, he said Beatrice Sama didn't make an appearance. So, meaning is this time. Why did it say this time? What is the reason for saying this time? If you look at it, why did they say this? So what it means is they know what's happening in the games. They know the existence of the games. Why do they know that? These are two servants, or these are two servants technically. Servants, furniture. But why did they know about the games? Even Butler himself, the one that is in the meta world, and his counterpart in the game world doesn't know about what's happening, right? What's happening in the games. Like whenever we start a new game, the butler there, yeah, all the memories are gone from the previous games. It's gonna reset, but for them, they know it. Like, look at this. I know whatever happens or changes, if it's offered, which is fickle entertainment, in the end, nothing will change. I wonder if we'll be able to go to the Golden Land this time. Who knows? We have a high rate of losing because they die, right? They die in the games, even though they know what's happening. They're accomplices, they still die in the games. It's very rare for us to survive the first Twilight together. I get the feeling that it's incredibly unusual for us to be able to talk together like this, even though the ceremony had already begun. But even That's just for the witch's entertainment. I'll bet I can't think of anything other than her letting us live just a little longer to ridicule us since we usually drop right in the beginning. So basically, yes, they know what's happening. They want to reach the Golden Land this time. All that different stuff. Right? I'm sure that no one will be able to go to the Golden Land. If I wish to reach the Golden Land with my lady, then the person will find it funny and will certainly never let us reach that place. You're right. Beatrice is thinking about which order of sacrifices will be the most interesting. The whole thing about them being chosen at random is just a lie. That swindling witch. All that about having any wish you want granted in the Golden Land is probably just a lie too. So, yes, they know what is happening in the games, that they know what happened in the other games, right? That is very weird. And yeah, this is what made me think of my theory here, my full theory for this. Okay, sorry. Who is the culprit theory? Who is the culprit theory? Here we go. So let's compare them first. We got Shannon. See, she is social. She is optimistic, meaning she is hopeful, right? She's a person that even if she thinks she's furniture, she thinks that everything can be better. She can still love George, right? And she has emotions. What I mean she has emotions is she's expressing them, right? And then we see Kanon right here. For Kanon, he's antisocial, pessimistic basically. Yeah, he's saying, yeah, they're lowly humans. Like, he wouldn't even give the effort anymore because for him, he thinks that it's just gonna end badly, so I would rather not do anything anymore. And he has no emotions. Technically, when there are other people there, he rarely or barely, shows any emotions. He showed emotions when he was with Shannon, but other than that, when he was with other people, he would not really show any emotions. Especially for like Jessica, right? He would maybe show it by the end, but not really. Just when he was about to die or something like that. Let's just say that. Okay, so here we go. I think the theory or the culprit is both of them. And how do I think that both of them is the culprit? Is I think that not one of these people are real. I think these are different personalities, different identities of the actual culprit, right? Because they're literally opposite of each other. Literally the opposite of each other. They're kind of like the same person. It's just that, yeah, she's a girl and he's a boy, but technically they're the same, but in the opposite way. So let's continue here. Different personalities. So this is the first, or what episode was this? Third episode, yes, when Butler was talking about about multiple personalities, how you were originally another personality. Yeah, which like personality took the name of someone other than themselves, right? And then more here, when Jessica was talking to Kanon here, it is always possible for people to create another self inside them, a self that they can truly grow to like. I'm not talking about escaping from reality, okay? When I'm not that other self, I can really feel like I'm living a great life. Take note of that, okay? Take note of this sentence here. To make another self inside yourself that you can truly grow to like. To make another me that one isn't furniture. Has Shannon given birth to another self that isn't furniture? And did this other Shannon see something that cannot be seen by furniture? So, okay, for the example there, with let's go back a little bit. Where is it? This one, right? When I'm that other self, I can really feel like I'm living a great life, right? I'm not talking about escaping from reality. So this is the person. This is why I think these are different people. The actual culprit. Okay, from now on, I'll say the actual culprit is Sayo. I'll refer to her as Sayo, okay? Sayo, because it's Shannon's first name, real name. So it's not confusing. So Sayo, her Butler left her, right? And for Butler, she loved Butler, but Butler did not come back. So she was originally Sayo slash Shannon, right? She was originally that person, but when Butler did not come back, she felt really sad. Let's say, yeah. She was, what is the word for distraught? But yeah, she was very sad technically. And there, she made another personality. Shannon, or Kanon, I mean, Kanon. So for Kanon's personality, is basically to forget every single thing. That's why we see Kanon all the time is pretty much just like a loyal servant, right? A loyal furniture, loyal servant. Suppresses emotions, does not show emotions. Technically the opposite of Shannon. Shannon is the one, her other self, that can live a great life, while Shannon is the one escaping from reality, right? So you have two personalities there dangling with each other too, and in the middle is Sayo, right? I mean, even here, I'm not talking about escaping reality, but my explanation for the Kanon one is technically, for maybe not all the time, but sometimes maybe she wants to be Kanon because, yeah, she wants to forget that feelings that she had. So she goes and becomes Kanon. And then sometimes she wants to be back to how she really is. She goes back into the Shannon personality. So there you go. Two personalities, another self, and that's it. But now, we have a third personality here. So this one, I think how this happened is Beatrice. This is the third personality. This is how, when I think this appeared, what did I put here? Okay. So for the Beatrice personality, I think this is the mediator between the Kanon and Shannon personality. Okay, so my explanation here is for this one is the evil personality. This is when she solved the Epitaph, knows her origins, all of that stuff. She knows who she is, she knows what she was, she knows what she came from, she knows who her family is, right? So this is the one who reminds her that she is furniture, that she cannot feel love, that she cannot have love. This is the one between the Kanon and the Shannon personalities. So we can see examples here. When Shannon asked George, "Can you say I love you because I want to hear it?" And then George was gonna say it and they got cut off. They got killed in that scene, right? They got killed there. So this personality, Beatrice, is stopping that. She is the one who is, yeah, making it stop. When they're going too far, when the love is being realized, she cuts them off. This Beatrice cuts them off. And this is for the Jessica one, when she second episode as well, asking Kanon, "What is your real name?" Kanon was gonna say it. Jessica died. He couldn't say it anymore, right? He couldn't tell Jessica anymore. "I became Yuma." It got cut off again. He died again, right? He was nearing that. He was showing his love, and then Beatrice cut it off again. And this is for the third one, the third episode, when Shannon, right? She came back for some reason. And then they were having a moment, and then Beatrice killed them again. So, yeah, this is kind of like an explanation for that. Beatrice personality, she likes to bully, confuse, and trouble people. So, yeah. She is the reminder that you are furniture. She reminds both Shannon and Kanon that you are furniture, technically. And as I was saying earlier, her origins as well. So if we look at the origins for this, it is it is really messed up, right? So George is what? in reality, if you look at this, based on my theories, Sayo and George are what? They are relatives, technically, right? And Jessica and Kanon are what? They're relatives, technically, right? If my theories are correct, they are blood related. And then, so yeah, this one enforces, honestly, my theory of her knowing about her heritage, because when Beatrice was talking about this, I actually thought that this was the Coadorian Beatrice back then, but now that I look at it, it's different. She's, yeah, in this scene, she's really reminding Shannon that, yeah, as I was saying, how it is that you cannot love anyone. Love is lust, totally meaningless unless you're sleeping together. You'll despair the very first time you witness the dark lust of the glasses man. So she's like a conscience, a bad conscience at that. This Beatrice is a bad conscience. Your furniture. Who the hell do you think you are, right? See what she's doing here? She's reminding Shannon that your furniture, you cannot love, technically. Die, you trash. Furniture. All that stuff, all that different stuff. I'll show you that this guy only had eyes on your flesh. So this one can also relate to what happened with the Coadorian Beatrice, right? On how, yeah, things like this can happen. So, yes, she is in the middle of this. Or Beatrice itself, the personality Beatrice is within the middle of these two. She's the one keeping them in check in a bad way, a very bad way. So the timeline, here we go. 1980, it was Shannon and Sayo still. This is when Butler met them. So back then, they were the same, right? Shannon, Sayo. And then afterwards, 1983, with Butler not coming back, she created this personality, Kanon, to forget about everything, to forget about her feelings of falling in love, Butler not being there. So she can pretend to be the Kanon personality whenever she wanted. And then yes, that's why it was 1983 here, because when they were talking about it, you've been working here for 3 years, right? So it was 1986 for the setting, right? So I just made it 1983 because of that. So there we go. So 1983, she had love for Butler, right? And then 1983 onwards, let's just say, now she started being close to George and Jessica in this point, right? Solving the Epitaph. She discovered her history. I technically was talking about this earlier as well, right? Kinzo, her solving the Epitaph, Kinzo apologizes, he died, and then she knows about their history, right? So now we have these four: the Shannon Sayo, the Kanon, the evil conscience bad Beatrice. The start of the complicated feelings. Now she has these feelings of Shannon that loves George, and then Kanon loves Jessica, right? So now the fourth personality appears. For the fourth personality, it's technically the Sayo personality, not Sayo, the original Sayo. So I think with all the things that has been happening with her complicated feelings, complex feelings, the Shannon personality separated from the Sayo personality. The Sayo personality has now become this sad, pitiful person behind the scenes now. And the Shannon personality had her own, let's say, her own character now. She was now different from Sayo. And then now we had Kanon, and then the bad Beatrice, the evil conscience there. So you have a lot of different personalities within Sayo, right? And if that doesn't make you messed up, I don't know what would, right? And then Butler coming back. So this made things complicated. When Butler came back, Sayo remembered Butler. Her love for Butler came back as well. So we could say that they mentioned Butler, let's say 6 months before the event, a month before the event, who knows when, right? But it's probably something like that. So now we have three feelings now in one person. The Sayo wants Butler. Shannon likes George, and then Kanon likes Jessica. Right? So episode 4 ending. So this is how I like connect them with that. Please kill me quickly. Try to stop me. If only he had never returned. So this is when Butler returned, right? If he never returned, the Sayo personality wouldn't remember the love that she had for Butler, and it wouldn't make things much more complicated yet again. It was complicated already, but then Butler came back. It became much more complicated. I wish I had never been born. So this is the word, the biggest word here. This is how I thought of my theory about her having known about her history, her origins, how she knew about it, is because I wish I had never been born. I don't think she would say I wish I would never been born if just for the fact that Butler left her. I don't think she would say that. I think it's got to be much more deeper, and I think it's that she knew about her history, and that's why she said this. This is why am I unable to love anyone? So this is pretty much implying that she had different loves. Butler, Jessica, George. She can't fully commit to anyone, I guess, right? That's why my interpretation for this is she cannot fully commit to anyone. They can show that she has love for George and Jessica, but let's say fully, like would she really go with them at the end? At the end of the rainbow, would she come with them? Probably not, right? Maybe she would go with Butler instead because she remembered how she loved Butler first. So that's it. This one, please. This one I forgot, but I'm just guessing. Please, I don't care what conclusion. Just kill me and my story, or let's say put my story to an end. So she just wants it to end. Basically, if you don't do that, you die instead. So this is when the Rokinjima incident happened. So this is, I guess, when she planned everything, what she was gonna do to the people, all of that stuff. It became, her feelings was so complicated, her mind was so messed up that yes, she tried to kill everyone now. But did she really go through it? Who knows? Because we don't know what happened in Rokinjima really. So how does this work in the real and game worlds? So in the real world, I think it works like this. So we have the Kanon character, Kanon, Shannon, and then Sayo, right? And then the Beatrice is just a evil conscience in the real world. So how I put it like this is, let's say in her room, she's Sayo. When she goes out of her room, she can be Shannon, or she can go out of her room as Kanon. So technically what I'm saying is, she doesn't have different personalities per se. No, it's not like when the Shannon character is out, it's controlling her. No, it's not like that. She's acting as Shannon, right? It's kind of hard to understand because of how kind of messed up it is, right? But what I'm saying is when she wants to act like Shannon, she can act as Shannon. When she wants to shift to Kanon, she can shift as Kanon. When she wants to be Beatrice the Golden Witch, she can be Beatrice the Golden Witch. She can control. What I'm saying is she can control it, but all of these 4 people are considered as one person only, right? And then when we go to the game world now, all these 4 people are considered as one person again. So how this works in the game world is all of them are existing in the game world, while in the real world, only one of them can exist at a time, meaning all of them cannot be in the same room at the same time. So you cannot have Shannon and Kanon at the same room at the same time. While in the game world, all 3 of them can exist. Not all 3 of them, let's say all 4 of them can exist in the game world at the same time, but they're always counted as one person. I think Sayo has appeared in the game world maybe from time to time. Maybe in episode 4 when she was doing the test. Maybe that was actually Sayo, right? But I think all 4 of these has appeared in the game, and they can be there at the same time. Their existence is there, but they're always counted as one person only. One human. That's why they say 17 humans, right? So, yes. That's why I was saying earlier that she controls this. That she doesn't really have like a disorder, like a different personality, different person disorder that can take control of you is because in the game world, she can kill the others. I think the Shannon character would not want to, let's say, because yeah, from behind the scenes, you might say that maybe Shannon or Kanon are doing bad things. Maybe they're the ones who killed Jessica or George, right? Or technically they were doing some bad stuff behind the scenes, but they can die in the game. So what I mean is, if the Sayo character in the game world ordered them to go kill themselves or whatever, they can follow it and they will die. And let's say this Sayo would say, shoot yourself, right? Or stab yourself. They would do that in the game world still. They would follow her direction. That's why in the real world, I came to the conclusion that she controls these characters. These characters are not the one controlling her. They cannot take control of the body, but she can act as them whenever she wants to. Like for an example, like let's say Robert Downey Jr. He can play Tony Stark one day. He can play Dr. Dolittle the next day. It's technically like that. He's an actor playing these characters, but whenever they play them, it is very deeply, like it's like another person technically, right? But they can control whenever they want to change or not. So that's how I say it. Mastermind, Kinzo. Mastermind and Kinzo Child, a complicated person, a complex person, sad and pitiful. Events of 1980 to 1986 pretty much messed her up. Those whole 6 years messed this character up a lot. For Butler, he had his problems with his family, his dad. But for Beatrice here, or not Beatrice, Sayo, it was super messed up. So this is my culprit here in the game. It is Sayo. Very long explanation, man. Almost 2 hours, but we still have more. Very, very long explanation for this character. That's why I said earlier, there's a lot. There's a lot to explain here, and that's why. Okay, causes of tragedy. Because of your sin, people die. All that stuff, right? The distortion. A full 6 years, a distortion was created, and tonight many lives are lost. If I came back and because of that, a massacre occurred. If I hadn't come back, no one would have to die. You're one of the causes. So, I think, yeah. I don't really know if Butler didn't come back, if this would happen. Maybe it would still happen because of how messed up her head is. But, I don't know. Maybe it could have been much more preventable if Butler didn't come back. I think Butler was the nail, right? Him coming back just broke her, and then she proceeded to plan whatever she planned. All that stuff. Okay, so next, what do we got? Events of 6 years. Mysterious bottles. Events of 6 years. What was gonna explain of this one? I actually forgot what I was gonna explain. Events of the 6 years. Oh, no. Okay. So this is the cause of tragedy. I mean, the events of the 6 years. Yes. What happened in the 6 years? This is the cause of the tragedy. Yes. Pretty much all what I explained about Sayo, the culprit, and that's it. Yes, you can just say it's one and the same. Yes. Okay, mysterious bottles time. So mysterious bottles is one of my theories that are pretty... Like I'm jumping from side to side from this. Actually, in the beginning, I thought maybe someone did survive. And then maybe Butler did survive this Rokinjima incident. And he was the one making this. But as time went on, as the story went on, we can just say that it was Sayo. It was the culprit that was doing this. She was the one writing this because, yes, the writing here, or the same writing from Maria's notebook and the mysterious bottles pretty much came, or pretty much has the same style of writing. Yes. And it's her. Like, my theory about someone being alive just went out, and I cannot think of any way to explain that. So we're gonna say it here that the one who sent these mysterious bottles was Sayo, or the culprit herself. But yeah, for the bottles itself, a few years later is the one they got from the fisherman. And then at the time of the accident, they got one for the police one. So they only got two bottles technically. Only two bottles. Two bottles were only recovered. And yes, look, handwriting for both matched. Written by someone and then calling themselves Ushiromiya Maria, but the style of writing is the same as the one in the bottle, so, or in Ange's diary or Maria's diary that Ange has. So definitely it is Sayo. And this one as well, it had been definitely written by a human who knew the inside details of the island. So you've been working there for a long time. You know the inside and outs of the island already and how it works, right? Could there be another message bottle? Probably, but yeah, no one really found out, right? There was nothing there. But yeah, hopefully I wish that we can see more message bottles. That would be much more cooler, right? So this is how they explain what are in the bottles. The beginnings and endings alone match each other. So how it started, how it ended is the same. And what is in the middle? So basically these are stories or scenarios technically on what this person, I guess maybe these are her plans, right? And this is how she wanted it to happen on the island. And then she wrote every single scenario, different, how it played out, I mean. But the endings and the start is just the same. It's just the middle part is different. So yeah, different scenarios, different stories, how it played out. And that's it. The contents of both message about the events of the day before the accident and the day of the accident itself. Both diaries outline a serial murder following the Epitaph. So yeah, technically what happened in the first to the fourth games. Basically like that, right? Yes. The events of the entire 2-day period are shrouded in darkness. Two diaries presented a full theories to wipe away the darkness. This too could be explained with either of those two diaries. However, we don't know which is correct or even if there's anything correct contained within them. Undiscovered third one or possibly even more. So I think for my theory here, I think there's a lot more. It's just that these are bottles, right, that you put in the ocean. And yeah, probably you couldn't find them. Like what if it broke, it hit a rock or something and it broke, it went underneath the water, right? And then it's gone forever. That's basically it. I think there's more, but there's nothing now for sure. This diary was written up until a day prior to the accident. Beatrice, and that was the line there. The signature, Beatrice. This is writing in the paragraph on this page matched the handwriting in the message bottle. And then the professor didn't say anything, so Ange assumed that yes, it matches the writing. So we can say that the writings from the paragraph or the mysterious bottles are the same as the ones in Ange's diary. So yes, it's only one person who sent this. And when we look at this here, a scene with Virgillia, when it comes to writing documents of power, the child's talent is magnificent, meaning she is really good when it comes to writing stuff, writing different stories. Said person is really good when doing that. So yeah, you can explain it like that. Mysterious bottle found two. Are there more? Oh, probably. The writing, the bottles, and the signature on Mari's journal are the same. Letters and numbers. Give me a second here. Okay, letters and numbers. So this is one of another, like, one of the best parts of episode 4 again. They're showing to us that yes, the people from or the relatives of Nanjo Kumasawa, they were sent money basically, right? It was sent on October the 3rd. So before the event started, they were sent. So meaning, yeah, technically these were compensations technically, right? And then we have this number 07151129. Butler said this 1129 or 0715 is his birthday. July 15th his birthday. 1129 we don't know which if that is a birthday or whatever that is. And then yeah, Jessica was right here as well. Jessica said that it was not any of the families, I guess. Birthdays, even Butler said not any of his family as well. It can't be anyone in my family, and it isn't Kanon, Kun's, or Shannon. So yeah, as I was talking earlier, maybe Kanon and Shannon's birthday are different because they're different characters, personalities than Sayo, right? Maybe Sayo has her own birthday, but who knows? Right now, no real answer for this. So 1129 is still gonna be a mysterious number. I don't know anyone who was born on November 29. And then yes, this was the money that was gave there, 100 million yen. Compared the handwriting in both, no mistake, it's the same as well. So meaning it was Sayo who sent this again. Kumasawa-san received the same letter. Angie received the same letter with the card, right? What was she trying to do here? She didn't hand this out stupid money to all the surviving relatives. So basically, it was 100 million, right? I checked how much 100 million is. 100 million yen is, I mean. It's about $670,000. Yeah, something like that. Is that worth it? Your family members are gone for $670,000. My God. I don't know. Probably, not probably. No. It's not worth it. 100 million for that. Jesus Christ. Letters sent out on October the 3rd. The numbers, yes, Butler's birthday, 1129, is the mysterious one that we don't know for now. World of Umineko. Okay, so we have 3 worlds here. Real world, game world, and meta world. So for the real world, what I think about this is where the world Eva did survive. Eva was a survivor. I think that is the real world. Now we don't know what happened in the middle though. What happened in the Rokinjima incident. That is the real world. But not really, we don't really know a lot of it. So the game world here. Game world. I think game world is maybe the biggest hint for what is happening. I think so. My theory is here. The game worlds are the scenarios and the stories of the mysterious bottles, right? So I have a theory here, but maybe it's a long shot. Maybe, as I was saying earlier, I had a theory with Butler being alive with the mysterious bottles, right? Maybe Butler is still alive, and the game world that we're seeing is maybe Butler forgot about this, or maybe he just had PTSD and just doesn't want to remember, right? Maybe the game worlds are a, how do I say this? Is a stuff, no, that's not stuff, but basically it's for Butler to remember what happened on the island, or to make, or maybe him to cope. Because yes, let's say 1998, right, was the year for Angie and when Eva died. So maybe for Butler to move on, I guess, slowly, by letting him remember what happened in 1986 there. Maybe, but this is a very, very long shot because Butler is the main character in the game world as well. And now we're learning that he has a promise, or a sin, I mean, and then Beatrice is trying to make him remember. And then yes, we're seeing the scenes in the game, different scenarios. We don't even know what is the real one with what happened in Rokinjima. So maybe this can be like that, right? Maybe it's trying to tell us that they're trying to remind Butler that with what happened in Rokinjima. So basically all the incidents is what I'm saying. I don't know, this is a very, very long shot for me, but who knows, right? But my main theory for this is the game world is technically the one in the mysterious bottles. We're just playing it out, and then Butler is just there. Who knows why, right? Yeah, this is I guess one of the things I saw, by the way. Like, I don't know why there are scenes like this. Like, look at this. All the cousins are together. It's really fun when all the cousins are together, but they were not together, right? Ange knows about, or not Ange, Sayo knows about Ange, I mean, because she gave money to Ange, right? But why in this world, in the 3rd episode, why in this one, they're saying that all the cousins got together? Ange was not in the island, so why did it say it here that they were all together? Was this just a mistake? Or is this something or some hint that maybe Butler doesn't remember Ange, right? I don't know. I just saw this and I was like, what? This doesn't make sense, right? I don't know. Okay, Meta World. Meta World is basically Purgatory. I think they even showed Purgatorio once in the first episode, in the first Tea Party. So yeah, Meta World, Purgatory, technically where Butler and Beatrice is the main character. And then yes, trying to make Butler, I guess, I don't know, maybe fight about what's happening. Or maybe yes, as I was saying, maybe to make Butler remember what happened in Rokinjima. But technically I'll just say that Meta World is technically Purgatory, and let's leave it at that for now. I'm just gonna be repetitive but try to explain it again. What is endless magic? Endless magic for me is a person can create a story with endless or infinite amount of scenarios. So yeah, we're just talking about it. The mysterious bottles is basically endless magic. That's why Beatrice is what? The endless witch, right? Can make an insane amount of stories. Even Virgillia said it. This child is very good in writing. So endless witch, endless amount of stories, and I think that's what it means when it say endless. Endless magic, endless witch. What is magic in an Umineko, and is it real? For me, when we started this game, I never believed in the magic. I've always believed that everything has an explanation in the human side of things, right? Every single time. So for me, power of belief. I think it's power of belief. If you believe it's real magic. So Virgillia, let's give you some examples. This is quite long again. Virgillia fixes the vase. So this is the scene from the 3rd episode when Virgillia was talking with this person right here. Grandfather is gonna get mad at me because, yeah, the vase. Remember the vase that was broken here? Right? And please remember what she's saying here. Grandfather is gonna get mad at me. The master treasured his vase. Imagine how he'll punish you. Grandfather was was a very frightening person. Magic that... So what Virgillia is gonna do, she's gonna make magic that will prevent the master from scolding you. That is the magic, right? If you'll be gracious enough to believe in my power, the power of belief is a source of magic. I believe in your power, Beatrice, so fix this vase. Then leave it to me. And then she waves her wand, does her magic. She begins speaking the magic words. Come, cry, closing your eyes, and try to remember. And then she is reassembling them into their original form. See now? It's back to normal. You won't have to get yelled at by the master anymore. So yes, she was so happy it got fixed. So let's just move on a little bit. You can fix broken vase like it's nothing. That is not true. Returning something broken to its original form is a very, very difficult thing to do. My magic can only make it remember what it once was for a short time. But the vase really turned back to the way it was, right? Correct, but that doesn't mean that the vase avoided its fate. All I did was temporarily get the broken vase to remember its form before it broke. So what Virgillia did is made this little girl her magic is for this little girl to remember what the vase looked like in her mind, to make her remember, and yeah, to fix it inside her mind, right? So for her, when she was closing her eyes, she was remembering what it looked like, and then Virgillia did all her magic there, right? So let's continue first again. So a servant came there, and then they were cleaning up the remains of the broken vase because they saw it, and a black cat had sneaked in, climbed up to the vase, causing it to break. Beatrice let me see the vase being restored temporary. It didn't mean she changed the fate of the vase or being broken. The vase remembered its true form or true fate and broke again. The one who broke it wasn't me, but a cat had snuck in. So yes, Beatrice never said let's fix the vase. If you go back there, the scenes there, Beatrice never said let's fix the vase. She said she'd prevented the master from scolding me. That's why I said earlier to remember what she was talking about when she was saying grandfather, right? When she was saying how grandfather will punish you, etc., right? So the fate of the vase breaking hasn't changed, but the fact that I broke it certainly has. Beatrice clearly saved me from the danger with that magic. It's a very easy to break something. You didn't need magic to break that vase. Is fixing stuff really hard? It is. It's so hard that you broke down crying. Real magic is the power to repair, to revive, to someone or to summon happiness that has disappeared, to summon love that has grown cold, and it can even summon a smile to the face of a princess who has forgotten how. Right? So what she did is, she did her magic, and then she saved Beatrice from getting scolded at by grandfather, right? And she was crying, and then she did her magic, and now she's happy again. So technically she didn't really fix the vase. If you look at it, she just shifted the blame to another object or another thing. So the blame now is on the cat. It is not on the little kid anymore. It is on the cat now. So technically she fixed the situation, right? Instead of little girl getting scolded, she magicked it to make another situation there, another thing. That's why it was temporary only. Until the cat was there and broke it, it was still her. But then when the cat broke it, it was then shifted to another one. So this one is I guess maybe a little bit harder to understand, right? But the other one is much more easier. It's the other ones, I mean. So I hope we cousins can stay together. This is believe in it. The cousins, let's always be friends to each other. We're all friends. We'll always be together. This is the power of belief yet again, right? And then Shannon says, I think it's important. People are creatures who find it very hard to stay together, much less remain friends unless they truly desire it. So remember what Shannon is saying here. Shannon never says that I will always be together and stuff. This is the only thing that she says. Then Maria says, happiness won't be granted unless everyone believes in it. Maybe some magic exists in the power of belief. If we all believe in that, I'm sure it will bring us happiness. And then yes, Jessica Butler is saying that. And all of that, but the dark clouds continue to approach Rokkenjima. So yeah, the thing that is gonna happen is still gonna happen even if they did their power of belief thing. We believe together that we could find happiness. So these are the 4 people who were believing in that. And then there was Shannon there, who just gave an explanation, right? And then Beatrice arrived and says, in your dreams. So basically, she denied it. She denied. She didn't believe that would happen. I just included this here because, yeah, they said power of belief. But this is, I guess, the biggest one, the easiest one to explain. Beatrice's candy magic trick. So Maria has this candy, right? The pumpkin Halloween candy. She picked it out and she presented it to Butler. So she was giving candy to the people. She was doing trick or treat, but other than them giving her candy, she was giving them the candy. She even gave one to Beatrice right here, right? I'll give you one too. And then she noticed this one, the stomp, the destroyed one. She asked, can you fix it? Beatrice said, it shall be easy. Give it to me. Close your eyes and try to remember. So similar with what Virgillia was doing earlier, right? Close your eyes and try to remember. The candy of your memories, try to remember. All of that. Closing your eyes and remembering. And this is why I was saying only Rosa saw that scene, right? That's why she might be an accomplice because of this. Open your eyes, take it. Your sweet has returned to normal. Beatrice is always incredible. Incredible, right? So now remember this one. I'll give you one too, right? Maria gave Beatrice a candy. So she fixed the other one by giving Maria the candy again. But she gave the candy that Maria just gave to her. So that is a very, very simple magic trick, right? But to a kid, of course, if they believe it, they believe it. It's real magic. So it's, yeah, very, very simple explanation for that. And then if you don't believe that, you can also say that the other people has candies as well. Maybe Butler gave it to Beatrice, to Shannon, right? As the accomplices and all. Even Eva has candy. So there are a lot of explanations for that, but the normal one is just Beatrice just having like a sleight of hand, putting the broken one in her pocket and just giving Maria the other one that Maria just gave to her. So yeah, easy. Maria and friends, power of belief, her having imaginary friends to make her life much more easier, much more happy. So yeah, very easy explanation there. Just imaginary friends. I mean, Sakutaro, her dolls, her, what do you call this? Those the sculptures, right? That Rosa broke. Yes, all imaginary. Denying the magic though. This is denying the magic. So remember when Ange in episode 4 started denying it? Because yes, in this situation, she cannot get the seven sisters to attack the students, right? Because there's no one there. But I just wanna, yeah, what do you call it? Talk about it. Stupid, so pointless. I've known it the whole time. So technically, she was saying that. Yeah, she knew that it was imaginary, but she didn't want to say it. I killed them, erased them, I smashed the seven sisters. So basically, she denied all of them now. The delusions inside your mind. And this is a flashback scene. Ange and Maria. There is no Sakutaro. Stuffed animals are stuffed animals. They're made of cotton, and there's no way they can walk or talk. And then Sakutaro was slowly dying. So so the power of belief works. The power of magic works if you believe in it, right? But when you or another person starts denying it, it dies. So like here, what is happening with Sakutaro? Ange is denying him, and then he's dying slowly. She's just saying that he's just a stuffed toy. Then Maria is saying, you aren't a stuffed toy. You aren't a stuffed animal. You're a friend. And then Ange is saying this. Instead of playing with stuffed animals, it's better to play outside with everyone. Rosa even says this. She denies it, right? Stop playing make-believe with its stuffed animals. A stuffed animal is your friend? If you have enough spare time to pretend the monster stuffed animal is your friend, go out and make some real human friends. So basically what Rosa said and what Angie said when she was a kid were technically the same. They were denying the magic there. And then Maria's saying, why are you saying something like that, Angie? Why? Right? Why are you saying that? What had been peaceful days to me became a daydream and ended. So yeah, magic is real if you believe in it. But if you or someone denies it, it starts to die. And that's it. By now it's impossible to prove. No one can verify whether that really was magic or whether those really were my friends or else are nothing more than a daydream. I, the sole observer, concluded that they were a daydream. This is when Ange was, or what do you call this? When she denied them, denied the seven sisters, right? When she was fighting her classmates, when she was getting bullied, this is what she said. She just said, yeah, those were a daydream. Perhaps in the farther future, I'll observe it again. When that happens, maybe I'll acknowledge that it wasn't a dream. They did everything they could for me in my isolation. And this is 1998, yeah, a couple of years later, when she was believing in magic yet again. So this is what Mamon was saying. Magical powers are pretty shabby, so meaning Angie was not believing in magic, right? She just started believing in it again. So she said it's been a long time, right? Furniture that's already fulfilled its function just gets left to rust away in a closet. So basically that's what happened when Angie was getting bullied. They fulfilled its function. They were having good times back then, and then when Angie started denying them, yeah, they were just gone. Just like that. Basically she fulfilled its function, right? She had moments with them. They were having fun with each other. But when she realized that they were not there anymore, yeah, she just shoved them to the closet. And now she's believing again, is what I'm saying. In 1998. And then the Rokenjima confrontation of 1998. This is with the Sumadera or with Kasumi, right? This is Komurai's as Seven Sisters of Purgatory. And then you can say, oh, how are they fighting the real people here? How are they fighting Kasumi's guards? This guy is the answer there. This guy right here. Amakusa Juza. So we can see his credentials: firstborn of the first airborne of the JSDF, French Foreign Legion. So basically, he's really good, right, in doing warfare and all that stuff. And then here you can see he's really good in counter sniping people. So technically, he's a good sniper. So now you can just argue he just killed every single bodyguard there, and then Kasumi as well, right? Very simple explanation for that scene when the Seven Sisters were fighting against Ange there, or when against Kasumi. It's, yes, just a Makuza just shooting them while Ange is imagining them getting, or yeah, killing the bodyguards. But then, what do you call this? Didn't she get shot? Didn't she was shot at, right? How did it stop? How did she stop the bullet of the bodyguards? I think we'll talk about that later, but now let's continue first. Ange reviving Sakutaro. So this is Ange reviving Sakutaro. Revive, right? I'll revive Sakutaro. I'll show you some real magic. So she did it. She revived Sakutaro. But in an earlier scene with El Capitan, here, we see that Sakutaro is on the left side. You see that left arrow there? And then we see the doll there. You could see that that is Sakutaro's tail, technically. You see that tail there? That is Sakutaro's tail, meaning Sakutaro, there was not only one Sakutaro. Okay, let's look at this. It was her mother's handmade stuffed animal, the only one of its kind in the world and irreplaceable. And then when Beatrice was saying this, the stuffed animal was a special stuffed animal. Rosa made it for her daughter's birthday in the entire world only, and it stopped. So it is a fact that, let's say, Rosa made this for Maria, but she couldn't say that it was only the one in the world. So what does this mean? Is maybe after making this for Maria, maybe she sold the designs of Sakutaro to another company, or when she died, they found the designs of Sakutaro and people made it, right? So it's probably not the only one in the world now. Maybe at a time it was, but now it isn't. And there's much more Sakutaros now with the same design. So now she could bring back Sakutaro. And yes, us seeing it here just confirms that there are a lot more different Sakutaro dolls, not just the one Maria had back then. So red roots. So red roots is, we can explain it as undeniable truth. If they say red root, it is the truth, nothing but the truth, and it's only the truth. Not only, I guess, but we can say it like this. For example, this is an example of a red root. George, Jessica, and Butler are in Rokkenjima in October 4th, right? That is a fact. That is a fact. But I think for the red roots, to find out real answers, you need to look outside of it and think much more. So we can have another one of these, another red root. George, Jessica, and Butler are in Rokkenjima on October 4th. But this red root doesn't say that there are other people there as well. So in a sense, that is correct. But in another sense, they're not saying that there can be other people in Rokkenjima on October 4th as well, right? So whenever you're looking at red roots, it is not fully the truth. I guess sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes I think whenever you look at it, you need to look outside much more. You need to look outside more, I mean, rather than taking it as is. Because sometimes, yes, it's not fully the truth whenever they say red truths. Even Lambda Delta, was it Lambda Delta or Burn Castle said this? It is sometimes these red truths are loose truths. It is real, but you need to understand it much more and what they're saying there. So I guess to find out what it really means, right? Okay, next. Beatrice's final mystery. Alright, this is a big one, I guess. Ushiromiya Butler, I will now kill you. And right now, there is no one other than you on this island. The only one alive on this island is you. Nothing outside this island can interfere. You are all alone, and of course I am not you, yet I am here now and I'm about to kill you. Who am I? So this one, I think we can explain it by looking at his bombs. I think it's bombs, honestly, bombs. But not the small bombs that Butler's been talking about. This, honestly, these small bombs is just stupid. It's very stupid, man. So funny back then. When even Beatrice was laughing at it, and Lambda Delta and Brink Castle was also laughing at it because it's so stupid, right? Having small bombs, that's why they exploded. Come on. Look at this, Beatrice is laughing. Small bombs. But I think it's bombs because, look at this. Episode 4, when Ange was in Rokkenjima, she saw a construction site fence, right? So why is there a construction site fence there? So one of two things. It might be people took over Rokkenjima after the incident, or they're pretty much like preventing people from going into a place, right? Because they might get hurt. Most of the time it's like that, right? So I think that's why it might have been a bomb, but maybe something exploded there. And then here, no entry Tokyo Metropolis. So when you think of Tokyo, you tend to think of the city, but Rokkenjima is also located within the Tokyo Metropolis. So if you remember Tokyo in Higurashi, there was a group called Tokyo as well. And it's a big group. I don't want to spoil anymore, but it is a big group in Higurashi. So there might be something there. So that's why I think maybe there are bombs there. Maybe they took the place, or maybe something happened, right? And this one as well. The police couldn't find evidence. It is always stated that there were no not stated, but assumed. The way they were talking about the characters after the incident is it seems like there were no bodies discovered. They were just missing, right? That is a whole island. Why would they just go missing? So what if it exploded? If not the whole island, just some parts of it exploded. That's why there were no bodies found. I think for Maria, they said they found a jaw, right? But it's only a jaw, so meaning, only parts of it. They cannot find complete bodies. And then here, Captain El Capitan, he was saying that the harbor was there at a time. So he was saying that there was a harbor there at a time. And then Angie was like not even saying anything, right? So you could also say like maybe the harbor exploded, right? Maybe you could say that. Another explanation for this, maybe the harbor exploded back then, and yeah. Or maybe one of the places where it exploded is the harbor. Let's say the mansion, the harbor exploded, but Kuwadorin was safe, right? Because Eva was there. So here, on the night twilight, the witch shall revive and none shall be left alive. So if a bomb did explode, no one will be alive here, right? I thought I'd surely be able to immediately remember how things had been at the time, but no memories came back to me. So again, they're hiding another big hint for us on what maybe happened there. So yeah, I think that it was a bomb. It exploded. That's why Beatrice says, I will kill you. There's no one else here, but yeah, you will die. And that's it. Who's Butler's mother? Okay, this one. I had fun creating this one. No joke. Had fun really compiling this. Ushiromiya's Kinzo's grandchild is Ushiromiya Butler. Yes, that is a red truth. That is a fact. I'll repeat it again. Butler repeats it. Ushiromiya Butler's mother is Ushiromiya Asumu. Yes, that is a fact. Because you can still be a mother even though you're not blood relatives, right? You can still be a mother. If you adopt someone, you can still be a mother. It was from Ushiromiya Butler or Ushiromiya Asumu that Ushiromiya Butler was born. So meaning was born. Remember the word was born. So Ushiromiya Butler was born from Asumu, meaning Asumu birthed Ushiromiya Butler. And then Beatrice said this, it was you, remember, you were born. It was from Ushiromiya Asumu that you were born. Butler couldn't say this. This is a red root, was born, meaning Asumu gave birth to Ushiromiya Butler. But for this, it was not you. It was not this Butler, not you. He couldn't say it. So this is another blue truth. People's names are not exclusive. It's possible for multiple humans to have the name Ushiromiya Butler. Please do remember that, okay? You are a different person with the same first and last name as Ushiromiya Asumu's son, Ushiromiya Butler. You are not Ushiromiya Asumu's son, not biological son. Okay, so this is the one with Kirie. This is from episode 3 when she was fighting against the stakes. She said this, Asumu had been carrying Butler-kun, and at the same time I was also carrying a boy. Our delivery dates were on the same day. Asumi gave birth to Butler-kun, but I had a miscarriage. What if Asumu-san had the miscarriage and I had been the one to give birth? So until Asumu-san died, until I got pregnant with Ange, I cursed Asumu and was jealous. So, okay, let's where is this? Okay, let's just continue. Let's just listen to this. Asumu-san blatantly cut in between us. She got pregnant. That woman used her body as a weapon to seduce Rudolph. So we can just see the hate here, right? Hate. Every single time I look at him, I think that if only my child had been born, he would have been the same age. I am still jealous of her, tormented by her, even now and from now on into the future for all eternity. Okay, so this. So my explanation for what Kirie was saying there is, what if... Let's go here. Let's just go here. What if Kirie was the one who gave birth, right? What if Kirie was the one who gave birth to Butler? Sure, Kirie's child would have a different name. He would still, the kid would still be an Ushiromiya, but a different name. But for Kirie, she thinks that, yeah, she had a miscarriage, right? What if she didn't have a miscarriage? What if Asumu was the one who had a miscarriage? And Rudolph, because this is, how do I say this? Kirie was not his wife. Kirie was a mistress, right? And at the same time, his wife is giving birth as well. So what if his wife's real kid died, and then they took the baby that Kirie had that was not named Ushiromiya Butler, right? And then gave it to Asumu. Let's say Asumu did not know, maybe, I mean, come on. Rudolph is what? They're rich and they're doing shady business. What if they threaten the doctors, right? To switch them. It's easy. So Ushiromiya Asumu gave birth to Ushiromiya Butler, but that Butler baby died. So what happens is, the kid that Kirie gave birth to was given to Ushiromiya Asumu, and they named that kid Ushiromiya Butler, right? So in reality, Ushiromiya Butler's name was not Ushiromiya Butler his name in the beginning. It was another one. So that's why they say here, you are a different person with the first and last names as Ushiromiya Asumu's son. So technically in the beginning, he didn't have the same name as, or he had a different name. And then later on, when they had the switch, he was given the name Ushiromiya Butler. So I guess we can now consider this as him being Kirie's son, right? A theory, a speculation, but this would be much more enforced later, right? My theory here. But let's continue. We can see here that, yeah, she hates Asumu. So whenever she looks at Butler, she gets reminded of that, right? So if they actually tell her, she's probably gonna hate. I don't know what her reaction is gonna be. It will be very fun to see. So this is episode 2. I don't think there's any relevance to this. I think this is nothing. I just included it. So Maria is saying, this is Butler Oni-chan, Rudolph Nissan's son. The brother is the son. The brother's son is the brother is the son. The brother's son, Butler, Rudolph's son. The brother is the son, Butler equals Butler, brother of Asumu's son. Technically, they are brothers, right? They just have different mothers, but they are brothers. You can say that they are brothers because Ushiromiya Kinzo is still a grandfather, right? He's still the grandfather of Butler. So, yeah. They are still brothers, but the original butler, he died. That's it. Okay, this one. This one, it enforces my theory here. When Rudolph asked them in episode 1 to talk to them, I want to have a little talk as a family. I also want to talk to you about it, Kyrie. I'll tell you later. I don't know anyone who neglects the concept of family as much as this old bastard. And now he's saying we're gonna have a talk as a family? I'm the one who should be terrified after all. I probably will be killed. So at first in episode 1 when they were talking about this, we are like, oh, he might be killed. He might be killed because of the epitaph, the ritual, or them fighting about the money, right? This was in the first episode, so we don't really have any like ideas back then. So now that we know about this, it might mean that he's gonna get killed by Kyrie because of what he did, right? He gave Kyrie's child to Asumu instead. So he was gonna reveal that, but then he died at that day, correct? What happened? You look so timid all of a sudden. It's not like you. So it's not like you because he's so scared of what Kyrie is gonna do after she learns that Rudolph switched the babies and Butler is Kyrie's actual son, right? And now you can say that why Butler has red hair, Angie has red hair, right? They had the same hair because, yeah, let's say that the mom is the same. And then there we go. This is mommy. Very scary. I think this is the scariest human that we're gonna see in this game, honestly. She's very cunning, she's very sly. Okay, Ange Ushiromiya died in 1998. This is the ending for, I guess, at tea parties. It said Angie died in 1998 for some reason. Your family's waiting for you. Final destination. And then the battle of gunpowder spoke and fury of white and black magic ended. And the world slowly sank in the darkness. Maybe when she was imagining the stakes. My explanation for this is maybe when she was imagining the stakes, she was actually hit by a gun, a bullet. And then she was really injured. And then after the battle, yeah, she just fell as the world sank into darkness. So meaning, yeah, she died. I think that's it. That's the explanation for me there. Yeah. On how Angie died in 1998. Who's Virgillia and the Little Princess? So Virgillia and the Little Princess, this was quite confusing because they always mentioned grandfather. Grandfather. Who is grandfather, right? At first you would think that, yeah, maybe Kuwadori and Beatrice, Culprit Beatrice. Most likely not, right? And then maybe Maria or Ange Ushiromiya. Most likely, probably, right? Because yeah, they were here playing in Kuwadori and we had a flashback with that. So we could say that Maria and Angie was there. So likely to unlikely, it might be Maria, Angie, Culprit, Beatrice, Sayo, Kuwadori and Beatrice, right? But can we trust this scene? Most likely not, probably not. Why can we not trust this scene? Because in this scene, they were also talking about the endless magic, endless switch. So what I was saying earlier, right? With the endless magic, different scenarios, different stories. Sayo could have made this story up, this scene up, right? And she was the princess. But in reality, she was not a princess. She was, what? A servant only, right? Maybe she just made this scenario up as her being a princess, an actual family member. And she could say grandfather, right? Because technically Kinzo is her grandfather and father at the same time. Ugh, honestly. God damn, right? I want to become your disciple. So who is Virgillia? I'll make you my disciple. Will you call me teacher? Yes, teacher. Who is Virgillia? This child, or that child, remember that? Ronove. It's been a long time. Truly a long time. It's been a long time since I've seen you too. The name Beatrice itself is hers. I only inherited from her. This is my teacher, the previous lady, Beatrice. And then she did that. Kumasao's form was no longer there. The one who once thought the path of an endless switch to Beatrice, and the only person Beatrice ever called teacher was this person. It was Beato's teacher, Virgillia. Virgillia held the palm of her hand upwards as though she was slightly grabbing the empty air. She held her fist out in front of Sakutaro. She opened it up and then she gave him a cough drop. And then her saying, "Are you someone's granny or something?" Right? So this is Kumasawa Chiyo. Senior servant for many years. She's a kind of super servant. Her only flaw is her tendency to slack off. She tries to get away from heavy or troublesome work. Sign of craftiness. Yeah, that's why you can say this scene right here, she was trying to solve that witch's epitaph, right? And then Kumasawa equals Virgillia. Little Princess equals Sayo or the culprit Beatrice. It was just a scenario that they showed us, a different kind of scenario to, I guess, make us a little bit confused or something there. So this one as well, to Shannon, Kumasawa was like a mother. So yeah, that's it. Counterpart or Virgillia is Kumasawa. Genji and Ronove. I think both of these are just counterparts of each other. Genji being the real world, Ronove being in the imaginary world. This in an imaginary Genji, I guess. Ronove being an imaginary Genji or an interpretation of another interpretation of Genji. So basically the only difference these two has is because these two are both loyal, is Ronove is much more playful, right? He jokes with Beato or Beatrice, while Genji is just your stoic character. So you can say that Ronove is just an imagination, that Genji is much more talkative or shows emotions. Kinda like that. Okay, Gaap. Gaap, this is a very 99.99999% not real. It's a long shot here. And I think this is gonna be funny as well. Gaap is Nanjo. Okay, so Gaap's power is teleportation, makes bodies and people disappear. What does Nanjo do? As for per my theory, he fakes diagnosis, lies about bodies. So what happens is they can make people disappear technically, right? Both of them are kind of the same in a way, but that's why I say 99.9999%. It's not fully the same, only a little bit. But yeah, it's quite funny and that's why I included it here. But other than that, it's nothing really. No joke, yeah. 7 Stakes of Purgatory. So for this one, I think this is the 7 Stakes, I mean, is a interpretation of the other servants from the Fukuin house. We can see here that the other servants would always take advantage, of Shannon. Shannon was simple, honest, so she would always carry out her tasks seriously and properly without any omissions. So she was always slow with her work. Lunon clearly avoided doing extra work whenever it was possible. Madame and Lunon can fall into hell, as Kanon says. That person knows where Madame checks and only cleans those areas. She wasn't really cleaning, she's just the worst kind of parasite, leeching off your thorough cleaning. So I think, yeah, for the 7 Stakes, basically they're an interpretation of the servants from the Fukuin house on how they treated Shannon, I guess, or Sayo. And they treated her badly, most likely. And her interpretation of them is just the opposite. Rather than them being bad to her, her interpretation of them is them being loyal and good friends with her. I think that's it. So I think Mamon as well. I think for the interpretation of Mamon, maybe that character that Mamon compares to is actually a person that is good with Sayo. Why? Do I think this? Because she has a lot of screen time though when she was with Ange, right? So maybe the Mamon character or the counterpart of that is much more better with Sayo. We'll find out, but I just think because yeah, she's not the oldest one, but she has a lot of screen time in episode 4. So maybe that might mean something or maybe it might not, right? But it is what it is, or it's just that, I mean. Chiester Sisters. So the rabbits, yes. Maria's toys, 4 friends. Rosa grabbed one of it and then it was destroyed. 556. 556 is gone. She was a good kid. So yes, these are the Chiester Sisters. The other one is destroyed. Ange and Eva. Okay, for Ange and Eva. So these are my theories for Ange and Eva. First theory is pure hatred. Eva is just pure hatred for Ange with what happened on the island. Honestly, I had a theory here where maybe Kyrie and Rudolph might be involved with what really happened in the island. And that's why Eva was angry or is angry at Ange because she passed that hatred from the parents to the child. Maybe that's it. Or maybe we have another one, right? We have another theory here. The second theory here. Aunt Eva was crying. It was only natural. No one willing to understand the pain of losing her husband and son at once, but her only relative had insulted her, saying, "Give me back my dad and mom." Right? I can make the excuse that I was a merciless because of my youth. You can understand that because you can say that Angie said this because she was a kid. A kid would say this, man. If a kid learned something from TV or let's say other people saying that, oh, maybe it was Eva who did all of this, right? Yes, you could say that. Like it's normal is what I'm saying. She could say that to Eva. But in this situation, like Angie was talking about, it had probably been cruel enough to sever the last thread in her heart. By Angie saying this, what do you call this? It made Eva hurt her, right? It made Eva hurt her. In the following days, the talk shows and magazines slandered her. So, yeah. It was not only the other people from the outside, even Angie said that, or Angie said that. And it was hard. So what Angie was saying is, with this one, is the Black Witch was there, right? When the Black Witch was there, black magic can probably release one person from the pain for an instant. However, it never lifts the weight from a person's shoulder. On the contrary, it forces the weight onto further victims, filling the world with hatred. So what happened is, with Ava's hate, she pushed it onto Angie. That's why she did that to Angie. She was so bad, right, to Angie. We can see she was even saying that she wanted to kill Angie or something. I remember. If only Aunt Ava knew of white magic and had a true witch nearby, shouldn't that have been me? Right? Did I learn magic to create happiness from Mario Onechan? Build a future with a completely different relationship. I have hated Aunt Ava constantly. Without love, it cannot be seen. I didn't have any love for her. And even this guy, Okonogi, even says this. Because, man, when Okonogi was talking about this, he was saying that whatever he said, Angie's mind was already set that she hated Ava, no matter what he says, right? Yeah, nothing will change. Because the truth inside of you is already decided. The real truth, there is a single way. Without love, the truth cannot be seen. So, yes. Theory 1, pure hatred. Maybe what happened with the island involved Kyrie and Rudolph. And then that's why maybe Ava hated her. Theory number 2, Ava had good intentions to Angie. In the beginning, let's say after the incident of the island, Ava had good intentions for her. But instead of loving her, or as they say, showing love, Angie said that you took my mom and dad away. But that is extremely understandable though. For a kid, yes, that is extremely understandable. And I guess that's when it started, when Ava hated her. So we could say that Ava had good intentions in the beginning for Angie. But with what happened, what Angie said, it just made Ava hate her. When Angie couldn't show her love, this is what happened to them, right? This was the result of this. What could have been. But the problem with this though, is even if Ava had good intentions for Angie, she treated her badly though, right? Until the end, she treated her badly, like extremely badly. So there's really no excuse for Ava here. She was an adult, of course. She had a lot to carry. She became the head of her family finally, but she lost every single one of them in that island. And now, when she comes back, her only family left says that to her, that you took my mom and dad away. That is understandable what Angie said. I keep repeating that, but it is. But Eva couldn't handle it anymore, and it broke her heart. And then with all the other people slandering her, telling lies or whatever, yeah, it will mess you up. So all her anger was put into Angie. As Angie was saying earlier, right? The Black Witch was there. It can relieve someone of its pain, but it can just transfer the hatred to another person. And that other person was Angie. It was sad because what could have been their relationship if, for example, Angie didn't say that? Maybe it could have been much more better. Maybe Eva wanted to start over, right? But it didn't happen. The anger or the hatred took over her instead, rather than them having a much more better life or a good life. It turned into a hate-filled world, especially for Angie there. So yes, we're ending finally. Did almost 3 hours, man. My god. I was actually gonna include a lot more, but I was like, nah. Because yeah, this was 700 pages, man. Insane, right? I was actually trying to make a, what do you call this? A part where I explain how the killings or the close room would have happened, but it would take time to analyze them. So I said, I'm not gonna include that. And then I thought of the characters as well. Do I talk about them one by one? Then I said, nah, I've been talking about them every single time I finish an episode, so I think this is enough. This is, I guess, the most important parts of the question arcs, and yeah, hopefully you did enjoy that. So for this one, I think maybe this is a one and done video. I'm gonna make this once, and I don't know if I'm gonna make another video like this in the future. So if you want, or if you like this video, for some reason you watched this until the end, honestly, thank you very much. It was so hard to make this and to even talk about this. I was actually gonna make a script for this for the first time, but I said, nah, I'm just gonna freestyle this. Whatever I think about the scene or the topic, I would just talk about it normally. I would not write a script or anything. And here we are. We finally finished it. Almost 3 hours. And then again, I mean, if you like this, enjoyed this theory, thoughts video, thank you very much, man. Not a lot of people would watch my videos anyways. So if you're here, I do appreciate it. And if you want more, if there are enough people who watch this, maybe we'll make more videos like this in the future. But of course, no promises. So I guess this is it for my thoughts and theories video on the question arcs of Umineko. Hopefully you'll enjoy it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.